together and reason as men and women out of his word, that we might do what's necessary that we might be saved. Because truly we know that we need salvation. All mankind needs salvation, but what we've heard from man has nothing to do with salvation whatsoever. What it has to do with is the death of man when we listen to what the nations have to say. Now last week, what we dealt with the book, basically with the book of Revelations and the book of Daniel. And we dealt with the opening of the 7 seals and the blowing of 4 of the trumpets and the pouring out of 4 of the vials of wrath in the book of Revelations. And these were the things that placed Judah in the wilderness during the great the period of time that they call the Great Tribulation period, which is the last half of the 70th week of Daniel. So what I'd like to do today is I'd like to go in and pick up where we left off at and bring the Messiah on the scene, do the salvation of the children of Israel. And what we're going to do, we're going to compare the things that we read with the things that man is talking about, because man got a lot of junk on his mind. So we're gonna read these things and compare them with what man is saying and see if Yahweh's word is true plainly as it is written, or whether a man's interpretations of what is written is true. And this has been the problem since the law was given to our people, is man's interpretation of things. This is why our fathers fell, because they couldn't keep that law. They couldn't keep the law. That's why Yahweh told them, say, I gave them statutes that was unjust and judgments that they should not live by. And we see the outcome of these things today being in this captivity, but yet and still, we still have hope. But Brother Steve, read the oracles of the church and invite him who stands at the door, that he may come in and sup with us and us with him, that we may continue to read out of this great legacy and consider what we read, because we haven't got long to stay here.
I'm going to read the oracles of the church beginning at 1 Peter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves. For love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man have received a gift, even so minister the same one to another, as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim giveth, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yeshua HaMashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen.
Amen.
Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you are sealed unto the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for the anointed one's sake have forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim as dear children, and walk in love, as the anointed one also have loved us, and have given himself for us an offering and a sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be one's name among you as becometh saints, neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks.
Amen.
Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I also overcame, and am set down with my Father in his throne. He that have an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the church.
Amen. He has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the church and Holy Convention. I'd like to start our class today in the book of Numbers. Amen. Numbers chapter 10. Now remember, last week, America was destroyed by Russia, and Judah went to the wilderness, right? Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to pick that up with Judah going to the wilderness. We're not going to read the scripture in Ezekiel and OC and Isaiah that deals with that wilderness experience, what's going to be going on in the wilderness, because most of us are pretty well aware up to that. 2/3 of our people are going to be cut off and die. And then the third part is going to the secret place in the wilderness. But let's pick this up and see how these things are brought about according to the word of Yahweh Elohim. Let's pick this up in Numbers 10. And my brother, I want you to read verse 1 through verse 3. Numbers chapter 10. We're going to read a whole lot of little pieces of scripture today. But see, the word was given that way, line upon line, precept upon precept, concept upon concept, so man wouldn't have a handle on these things. Brother, yesterday, Brother Yosef and I was listening to some Gentile on the radio, and he was talking about Ezekiel 39th chapter with Russia. That's the second that comes about just before the second resurrection. So people get this thing confused because it wasn't given to them to understand. It was given to the house of Israel. Okay, this is why when we see people that's not Messianic Jews that's teaching the word, we know that they are of the church of the adversary, the devil. Numbers chapter 10, and brother, I want you to read verse 1 through verse 3.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Make thee 2 trumpets of silver, of a whole piece shalt thou make them, that thou mayest use them for the calling of the assembly, and for the journeying of the camp.
You're going to use them for the calling of the assembly and the journeyings of the camp. See, these are the trumpets that we keep in memorial, not the trumpets in the book of Revelations, okay? And when you get back before this, you don't read no place trumpets was blown that we could be in memorial of. So these are the trumpets. It's the movements of the camp of the house of Judah and the house of Israel. That's what we celebrate. Okay, go ahead and read, my brother.
Verse 3, And when they shall blow with them, all the assembly shall assemble themselves to thee at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation.
Okay, so Judah got into the wilderness. The 2/3 was purged out. Then they blow the trumpets, and then the whole congregation assembled at the door of the congregation, right? Okay, now, the first 4 trumpets of Revelations, chapter 8, verse 1 through verse 13, and the vows of Revelation 16, verse 1 through 8, this is what destroys the daughter of Babylon, America, the Protestant stronghold. This began the last 3.5-year reign of the EU, the revived Holy Roman Empire that fell in 476 AD, or the 70th weeks of Daniel 9, verse 24 through verse 27. Now let's go into Daniel 11 and pick up the next event here. Daniel 11 and verse 36 through verse 45. Daniel chapter 11 and verse 36 through verse 45. Last half week. Remember, the Messiah came. He came in 69 weeks. He taught a half week, which gave us 69.5 week, and then we have another half week, which is which will fulfill the 70 weeks of Daniel. Daniel chapter 11, and pick that up, my brother, at verse 36 through verse 45.
Yes, sir. And the king shall do according to his will, and he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak marvelous things against the Elohim of God, and shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished. For that is determined shall be done. Neither shall he regard the Elohim of his fathers, nor the desire women, nor regard any god, but he shall magnify himself above all.
You're going to say he's God, right? So the last king is going to say he's God, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 38. But in his estate shall he honor the God of forces, and a God whom his fathers knew not shall he honor with gold and silver, and with precious stones and pleasant things.
In other words, he's going to honor his military power above all. Go ahead. That's who keeps him in power. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 39. Thus shall he do in the most strongholds with a strange God, whom he shall acknowledge and increase with glory. And he shall cause them to rule over many, and shall divide the land for gain. And at the time of the end shall the king of the south push at him, and the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind, with chariots and with horsemen and with many ships. And he shall enter into the countries and shall overflow and pass over.
In other words, who's going to, the king of the south, we know that these are the Arabs or the Antichrist that's going to push at him, right? And once they start their problem, he's going to go forth like a whirlwind to take away many, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 41. He shall enter also into the glorious land, and many countries shall be overthrown, but these shall escape out of his hand, even Edom and Moab, and the chief of the children of Ammon.
Well, we know that Edom is in our land saying that they're the Jews, and we know that Moab and Ammon, we know that they're in our land today saying that they're the Palestinians and we're the Palestinians, right? Okay, go ahead, brother.
Verse 42. He shall stretch forth his hand also upon the countries, and the land of Egypt shall not escape. But he shall have power over the treasures of gold and of silver, and over all the precious things of Egypt. And the Libyans and the Ethiopians shall be at his steps.
All these folks are Muslims, we know that though, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 44. But tidings out of the east and out of the north shall trouble him. Therefore he shall go forth with great fury to destroy, and utterly to make away many. And he shall plant the tabernacles of his palace between the seas and the glorious holy mountain. Yet shall he come to his end, and none shall help him.
Okay, Revelation chapter 9 and verse 1 through verse 12.
And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power.
So, you see, this is the beast invading the Middle East. Go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 4. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of Elohim in their foreheads. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he striketh a man.
So this tells us that between the fifth and sixth trumpet, it's going to be five-month period of time, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 6. And in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them.
Now that's going to be a horrible thing. Somebody fall off a 90-story building and don't die. Somebody get run over and cut up by a train and don't die. Yeah. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 7. And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle, and on their heads were as it were crowns like gold, and their faces were as the faces of men. And they had hair as the hair of women, and their teeth were as the teeth of lions. And they had breastplates as it were breastplates of iron, and the sound of their wings was as the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle. And they had tails like unto scorpions, and there were stings in their tails, and their power was to hurt men 5 months. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue have his name Apollyon. One woe is past, and behold, there come two woes more hereafter.
So we understand that all of this is war equipment that's being led by Satan to go into the Middle East, right? Okay, chapter 16, and read verse 10 and verse 11, my brother.
Chapter 16, verse 10 and 11. And the fifth angel poured out his vial upon the seat of the beast, and his kingdom was full of darkness. And they gnawed their tongues for pain, and blasphemed the Elohim of heaven because of their pains and their sores, and repented not of their deeds.
Okay, now let's go into Revelation 17 and read verse 8 through verse 18.
The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not, and yet is.
Right, Rome fell, Rome was, then it fell and it was not. Now here it is again. The Holy Roman Empire is brought back up on the scene, right? Now understand this now. All of this is being controlled by the Gentiles, and we know that because the Gentiles was given 2,520 years to rule in the second chapter of Daniel, right? Now the Christians tell us we are all Gentiles, but that's not according to my Bible. According to Genesis 10, the Gentiles are Europeans, and that's who started Christianity. We went and taught them, and then they put us out of the land, put us in captivity, sold us all over the world. Now they taught us back, right? Raising us up as Lucifer's children. Yeah. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 9. And here is the mind which have wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth.
Rome sits upon 7 hills. We know that. And the 7 churches that Paul set up among the Gentiles, we also know that before Rome fell in 476 AD, did neither one of those churches exist. They went all in the catacombs of Rome and everything. This is when they came up with that little fish symbol that we see on the back of cars, right? And you always said, don't you make nothing that go in that water, that's in that water that'll represent me, right? Okay, go ahead, brother.
Verse 10. And there are 7 kings. 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space.
This is the last ruler of the EU. But go ahead, brother.
Verse 11. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th and is of the 7th, and goes into perdition.
So it was 7 kings, right? There they are over there on the chart. The tree is in the way. There they are over there on the chart over there, right? Those are the 7 heads, right? Those are the 7 kings. Now it said, and there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, right? And there's an 8th king, right? Well, this 8th king is going to be this last pope. Okay, well, go ahead and read, brother.
And also, Elder, it said that the 8th king will be of the 7th, so we know that it's from the Roman Empire.
From the Holy Roman Empire. Yeah, so you know that, right? Go ahead, my brother.
Revelations chapter 17, verse 12. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast.
Those are the 10 crowns that's on that chart there. Belgium, Denmark, France, Germany, Great Britain, Greece, Ireland, Italy, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands. Now tell me those aren't Gentiles. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 13. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is Adonai of Adonais, and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful.
Amen.
And he says unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the horse sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues.
In other words, she spread her skirts all over the world, didn't she? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, These shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. For Elohim have put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree, and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of Elohim shall be fulfilled.
Well, let's look at that. A divided house won't stand. And when we look on the earth today, you got a zillion Protestant churches. You got 500 different Roman Catholic churches. And religion, everybody know that religion is about money and control. Everybody knows that. And this is the way that man has kept the species domesticated, and this is the same reason why men has fought many, many wars upon the earth, right? So in order to pull this whole beast together under one head, under one religion, they got to get rid of that Vatican. And this new pope has already said they got to pull this church back together. Okay. And over in Europe and in America right now, we know that they're giving people those chips and so forth right now, don't we? Okay, go ahead and read, brother.
Last verse 18, and the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth.
And all the kings must go to see the Pope. Okay. Now what we read is that the beast invades the Middle East, defeats the Arabs or the Antichrist, the 10 crowns destroy the Vatican and the Christian religion, the false prophet moves to Zion, our holy city, and causes all to be named, numbered, or marked. Now Lucifer has his mighty army ready to make war with Yeshua, the Lion of the tribe of Yehuda. But let's pick up the rest of this action here. Numbers 10 in verse 4 through verse 9. Numbers chapter 10, verse 4 through verse 9. See, one thing you can say about coming to NCCI, we read a whole lot of scripture to prove things. It ain't like when you go to church where somebody read a verse and say, now watch this now. You can tell when they get ready to tell that lie. See, watch this, right? And go right in and tell one of the biggest lies ever been told. You know why? Christ said salvation is of the Jews, right? Well, they Christians.
I was at work last week, right before the holy days and everything, and a chick told me she was an older lady now, I was back there in the break room reading my Bible. She told me she was a Gentile and she had been grafted in,
A chick? She was an older lady?
That's a hen. That's a hen.
Y'all know y'all got to eat the sweet now.
She told me she was a Gentile and she had been grafted in here. I told her, I ain't laughed at her, but I just tried to help out, I told her what you need to read. I told her read Romans 11 and Genesis 15, maybe she can get some understanding out of it. Mm-hmm. I couldn't believe she said that.
Well, brother, let me tell you something. The Gentiles were grafted into our tree. They was grafted in, right? Now, we're looking at an apple tree that's standing up, been growing for hundreds of years. Then all of a sudden, here come a lemon branch that's grafted into this tree here, right? That tree will never taste like a lemon. But that lemon will begin to take on the characteristic and the flavoring of the apple tree, right? Well, it ain't like that today. See, what we've done was this. We went and bought in everything Boss Hogg had to say, didn't we? Okay. You know why? We gotta understand what was going on in those days, man. Our people are slaves, man.
Probably still on a plantation down there or something.
Might be. See, you got to understand that we were slaves. And the thing of it is, we wanted some of that pressure off us. So whatever master was a Baptist, we became Baptists. Master was a Methodist, we became a Methodist. If we didn't like master and he was a Methodist, we became a Seventh-day Adventist. See, so we could see how our people bought in these things, trying to show master, say, look, we're going to worship your gods. We're going to do just like you want us to do, so you give us some freedom, so you treat us equal. How in the hell can a slave raise up to be treated as equal with his master? It's never happened, and it won't happen. Where I tell you to go, brother. Numbers 10, and read verse 4 through verse 9.
Verse 4. And if they blow but with one trumpet, then the princes which are heads of the thousands of Israel shall gather themselves unto thee.
Okay.
When you blow an alarm, then the camps that lie on the east part shall go forward. Verse 6. When you blow an alarm the second time, then the camps that lie on the south side shall take their journey. They shall blow an alarm for their journeys. But when the congregation is to be gathered together, you shall blow, but you shall not sound an alarm. And the sons of Aaron the priest shall blow with the trumpets, and they shall be to you for an ordinance forever throughout your generations. And if you go to war in your land against the enemy that oppresses you, then you shall blow an alarm with the trumpets, and you shall be remembered before Yahweh your Elohim, and you shall be saved from your enemies.
Okay, my brother. OC 1 in verse 1 through verse 11. Hosea chapter 1, verse 1 through verse 11. Man, where's Hosea?
Right behind Daniel.
Hosea chapter 1 and verse 1 through verse 11.
Yes, sir. The word of Yahweh that came unto Osee the son of Beri in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Yehudah, and in the days of Jeroboam the son of Joash, king of Israel. The beginning of the word of Yahweh by Osee. And Yahweh said unto Osee, Go, take unto you a wife of whoredoms and children of whoredoms, for the land have committed great whoredom, departing from Yahweh. So he went and took Gomer, the daughter of Diblaim, which conceived and bare him a son. And Yahweh said unto him, Call his name Yisrael, for yet a little while, and I will avenge the blood of Yisrael upon the house of Jehu, and will cause to cease the kingdom of the house of Israel. And it shall come to pass at that day that I will break the bow of Israel in the valley of Yisrael.
That already happened. We know that, right? Okay, go ahead, brother.
Verse 6. And she conceived again and bare a daughter, and Elohim said unto him, Call her name Lo-Ruhamah, for I will no more have mercy upon the house of Israel, but I will utterly take them away. But I will have mercy upon the house of Yehudah, and will save them by Yahweh their Elohim, and will not save them by bow, nor by sword, nor by battle, by horses, nor by horsemen.
I'm not going to save them through any violence, right? Didn't they tell us when we leave here we're not going to leave in haste? Huh? Okay, go ahead.
Verse 8. Now when she had weaned Lo-Ruhamah, she conceived and bare a son. Then said Elohim, Call his name Lo-Ami, for you are not my people, and I will not be your God.
No, he's talking to our mother, Old Covenant Israel, because we know that the New Covenant was made with the house of Israel and the house of Judah, right? And it was sealed in the Messiah's blood. That's why I don't see why all these folks running around here doing all this damn hollering, not understanding that the covenant was made with the house of Israel and the house of Judah, and everybody else done took over. See? They were grafted in our tree, and they cut down our tree and left a stump, and then planted their tree. Kept putting poison on our stump, kept putting poison on our stump so it wouldn't grow, right? And their tree has blossomed and budded and filled the face of the whole earth with that garbage they teach.
Yeah, they say that's what you believe. That's all they tell you. I ain't got nothing else to say to them.
And nothing wrong with that. If you read it, I believe it. Go ahead and read. This book I got right here, I got a Bible home that was presented to the that was registered in the Library of Congress in 1892, and it's word for this 1909 Schofield. Them new books, they've been changing things to suit the lie that they've been telling. To show you a good example of that, they say Gentiles are the nations. Gentiles, white folks. We know that, and they know that, but we don't. Yeah. Go ahead and read, Steve.
Yes, sir. Osee chapter 1, verse 10. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, you are not my people, there shall be said unto them, you are the sons of the living Elohim.
It was said in Israel, wasn't it? And once we get back in the land there, it's going to be said that you are the sons of the living Elohim. Now remember, when we came out of Egypt, we was in Goshen, right? If you look where Goshen is in Israel. And once we leave here and go up the Red Sea and embark at the Red Sea there, the wilderness of Sinai is right there, and we see it. The King's Highway leads right up to Jerusalem, doesn't it? Yeah, go ahead, brother.
I got a chance to talk to one of those Hamites yesterday, and I mentioned about the brothers and sisters that were down in Yemen and stuff. Yeah, them people, they're not African. And I said, what about all those tribal wars that they have in Africa? He said, well, those people are not African. And he said, I know there's a difference between you and me, because you not African.
Right.
They know.
Right. What you might want to do, brothers, check what was going on in Rwanda, too. The genocide that went on in Rwanda. You might want to check that out. You finished that, right, Brother Steve?
No, sir. One more verse.
Okay.
Verse 11. Then shall the children of Yehudah and the children of Israel be gathered together, and appoint themselves one head, and they shall come up out of the land. For great shall be the day of Yisrael.
Then shall the children of Judah and the children of Israel be gathered together. Remember, the trumpets was blown to call the assembly, right? The princes and another trumpet was blown to call the assembly, right? And we came together and we appointed them one head, and we're getting ready to come up out of the wilderness to go back into the land of Judah. Now let's go into chapter 2 and verse 18 through chapter 3 and verse 5.
And in that day will I make a covenant for them with the beasts of the field, and with the fowls of heaven, and with the creeping things of the ground. And I will break the bow and the sword and the battle out of the earth, and will make them to lie down safely.
Praise God.
And I will betroth thee unto me forever. Yea, I will betroth thee unto me in righteousness and in judgment and in loving kindness and in mercies. I will even betroth thee unto me in faithfulness, and thou shalt know Yahweh.
He said, I'm married to you, and I'm going to take you one of a city and two of a town and bring you back to the land of Israel, right? Well, that ain't what the Gentiles tell us. What they tell us is this. Oh, no. We're going up to heaven. Everybody going to heaven. You get up in heaven, Muhammad Ali the butcher, Hitler, Mussolini, everybody going to be in heaven. Look at what happens today. Every time somebody die, wake that brother there up. Every time somebody die, what happens? They in heaven now. And you looking at them laying right there in that casket. Well, what about judgment? No judgment, no law. That's what they say. Okay.
You know what, Elder, the problem I had with that when I was in my youth, I was looking forward. I said, I was wondering about going to heaven. This Gentile told me, he said, y'all going to heaven all right, we still going to rule over y'all. And you're coming in through the back door. And he was a preacher, brother, in a church. And that turned me off. I just said, I'm through with this.
If everybody that dies in heaven, all you got to do is have faith and believe.
Rule over us in heaven.
All you got to do is have faith and believe. You can be the worst hellion on the earth, and all you got, but you can still have faith that you're going to be saved and believe that you're going to be saved, and you're going to be saved. Biggest lie ever been told. Those who live without law shall die without law. Those who live in the law shall be judged by the law. It's a big difference between dying and being judged. When we talk of judgment, when we go in the book of Revelation and speak of the great white throne judgment, judgment speaks of law. You can't judge without law. What y'all are going to say? I like your shoes. Yeah, go on and read, Steve. Yeah.
Hi, how you doing? So I just have a question on so you're saying that in Hosea, God is making an analogy of his covenant with his people, or is he actually talking to Hosea about marrying this prostitute, as it says in here?
Talking about his people. Why would he marry Hosea?
So he's not really speaking literally to Hosea.
No, he told Hosea to go get married. He told Hosea, go marry a hoe and have children. And the first child she has, I'm getting rid of Jacob. The second child, he says, I'm saving Jacob. So that's what he did. He broke some of the branches off. Some of the branches was broken off the tree, right? He got rid of our fathers, kicked them out of the land, tore down the temple, caused our language, our name, and everything to cease from among men, right? But then he married their children. This is the reason for the new covenant. Okay.
You know, brother, they penalized this police officer that was killed last weekend, and they have yet to announce that he's gone to heaven. And I was telling Zipporah, I said they waiting to get an empty room up there to put him in.
Brother, he was Red Dog. He was Red Dog. We know where he going, right? He going in that grave. He gonna miss the Messiah's rule, and when he wake up, he might as well, he gonna have on his guns and all that stuff, going right on out there in that lake of fire. Ain't no sense in going before the great white throne. He know what his deal is, right? Go ahead and finish up, Steve.
Yes, sir. Verse OC, chapter 2, verse 21. And it shall come to pass in that day, I will hear, says Yahweh, I will hear the heavens, and they shall hear the earth, and the earth shall hear the corn and the wine and the oil, and they shall hear Yisrael.
And they shall hear Israel. That's who Jezreel is, right? Israel. They shall hear Israel, right? Why? Israel was given the covenants, the promise, the service, the giving of the law. Paul told us this. All of the things was given to the children of Israel to give to mankind. And he told our people, say, you shall be a kingdom of priests unto me, a holy nation, right? This is why the earth is going to hear you. He said, I'm going to take them as Judah and scatter them to the four corners of the earth so that those that haven't heard of my fame will hear me, didn't he? Okay, go ahead and read, Steve.
Verse 23. And I will sow her unto me in the earth, and I will have mercy upon her that had not obtained mercy. And I will say to them which were not my people, you are my people, and they shall say, you are my Elohim.
Mm-hmm.
Then said Yahweh unto me, go yet, love a woman beloved of her friend, yet an adulteress, according to the love of Yahweh toward the children of Israel, who look to other gods and love flagons of wine. So I bought her to me for 15 pieces of silver, and for an omer of barley, and a half omer of barley. And I said unto her, thou shalt abide for me many days. Thou shalt not play the harlot, and thou shalt not be for another man. So will I also be for thee.
We done married every whorehouse in the street. We become all things to all men.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, brother.
You know, when I was doing that, every time I came up out of one of them places, I was more angry than I was before I went up in there, and depressed and down before I went up in there. Because you go up in there seeking something and you come out with just an empty pocket.
Amen. Bro.
You come out feeling good. The choir has electrified you. The preacher messed around standing up there looking like a rapper with all that jewels and all them expensive clothes on, right? And he come out and he woo you, right? Now, that's you think you're going to feel. Then you come out feeling so good. Oh, I feel so good going in there. Oh, I just right. But the dead are there. And we know the dead are there. Anybody that tell you you don't have to keep Yahweh's law is dead, double dead. Because there's going to be a judgment, and Yahweh is going to use his law to judge you by, and it's already written down. It took 5 books and 40 years to explain all of that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, question to the
Yeah.
I had a question. Yeah, some of my friends who go to the church in Buckhead say, yeah, I feel this peace, and I've never really felt it. I always thought, doesn't it say you have to seek unto death? So I don't know if the Spirit, because we don't get the Spirit until after we are judged, right?
No, you get, you receive the Spirit. Let's understand what the Spirit is. The Messiah said the words are Spirit. Now, let's differentiate between Spirit and the Holy Ghost. Okay? It said the words are Spirit. This is why we were told, Paul even told us, let the word of Yahweh dwell richly within you. So, we receive the word and we deal with the word, but we receive comfort in the word, but not the kind of comfort that they receive in the churches, because in the church, the comfort that they receive is that they feel all right. It's an emotional thing. With us, it's a different thing. It's the dying of the old man, and that's a grievous thing to kill off that old man. I mean, you got to live with this every day. So the old man is the killing off of the old man. And as I was telling a brother today, let me tell you something. I've been teaching the word for 31 years. And let me tell you something. My days, happy days, I haven't had any. You know why? I have nothing to rejoice about. You know why? All these folks I got to deal with. These are the folks that's constantly on my mind 24/7, 365, because I got to give an account. Have to put classes together and so forth to deal with them so they know the truth. So when I go to a place and I sit up in there and the choir sound good, I'm going to feel good, right? And if I feel, when you deal, because of the words, I'm going to feel good. But when you're dealing with the Holy Ghost now, that's altogether a different ball game, see. The Holy Ghost is what raises you up and guides you in the way that you should go, you see. And what the Holy Ghost does is this: it's the Spirit of truth. Mm-hmm. And the Spirit of truth guides you in the truth of the Word. And when you hear people with all that gobbledygook that's coming out of their mouth and so forth, they feel good. But what ghosts do they have? Okay.
I have a quick question. Based on what you were speaking on, well then, who can be saved? Is salvation for everyone? Because everyone sins or breaks the law, whether it be,
That's what grace is all about, bro.
Well, that's what I was asking. Who can be saved then? If we break the law, we all fall short of following the law. Who can be saved?
You're
Will
gonna
it be the blood of
you're going to die one way or another. Mm-hmm. One way or another, you're going to die. But those that's going to be saved is the one we read it today, that keep the commandments of Yahweh and have the testimony of Yahshua HaMashiach. Those are the ones that's going to be saved.
Doesn't the blood or the shedding or the sacrifice give you a reassurance of being able to have redemption as far as when you do break the law?
That's what the blood does do, redeem you. And through Yahweh's grace, he decides whether he want to forgive you when you, any sin that you commit after you come up under the blood, all sin must be atoned for. All sin must be counted for. You're going to have to give an account for that sin. So what you have to do is confess that sin and do what? Repent. Okay? Then once you repent, then that means that you don't do that anymore. So a little bit of that old man died. The next time you sin, you're going to, like I said, all have sinned and come short of Yahweh's glory. So it's through his grace and his mercy and covenants that was made, the seven pillars of foundation that was made with our folks, that the nations, our people, would be allowed to be saved. So Yahweh know you're going to sin. There wasn't but one just and perfect man that ever walked this earth, and they crucified him.
So Gentiles can be saved?
Of course.
Okay.
All the nations going to be, all except two people. One son of Ham, the Canaanites, and Esau, that's over there in the land saying that he the Jews. Those people, the scripture tell us, they're not going to be in the house of Yahweh anymore, so they're going to be destroyed. But the rest of the nation is going to be saved. We're going to save 1/10 of all the nations and 1/3 of us.
Converted.
They're going to have to convert. They're going to convert during the Great Tribulation period. If you read the book of Revelation, it tells you that. Revelations chapter 7, when the 144,000 were sealed. And verse 9 says, and after this I saw a great multitude of all nations, tongues, and language, which no man can number. These had washed their robes in the blood of the Lamb and made them white. So all those nations are going to be saved. So you got to have somebody rule over. Okay. Go ahead and read, Steve.
OC chapter 3, verse 4. For the children of Israel shall abide many days without a king, and without a prince, and without a sacrifice, and without an image, and without an ephod, and without teraphim.
And none of these things we've had. None of you can remember our people having any of these things. All these things came from other people to us, didn't it? Okay, go ahead and read, brother. And we the only nation on earth like that now. Okay, go ahead and read.
Last verse 5. Afterward shall the children of Israel return and seek Yahweh their Elohim and David their king, and shall fear the Adonai and his goodness in the latter days.
Okay, now let's go into Psalms chapter 60 and read verse 1 through verse 12. Let's verify David. Psalm 60 in verse 1 through verse 12. Remember, the trumpets blew, the assembly came together, right? And the princes appointed one head, didn't he? We're going to appoint one head, okay? Psalm 60, and read verse 1 through verse 12, my brother.
Yes, sir.
Elder, I went on the internet last week, and I pulled up the about who the Jews are, and it was saying that the people over in the land now are really Japheth's descendants. The people who are in Israel now.
No, it's not Esau. The scripture told you that your brother, Esau, will be the one that is in your land. When we go into the land, it told us that Edom, Moab, and Ammon is going in captivity under us, didn't it? Okay, but they ain't neither one of them Gentiles. All those come out of Shem. Okay, Psalms chapter 60, and pick that up at verse 1, my brother.
Yes, sir. Oh, Elohim, you have cast us off. You have scattered us. You have been displeased. Oh, turn yourself to us again. You have made the earth to tremble. You have broken it. Heal the breaches thereof, for it shaketh. You have showed your people hard things. You have made us to drink the wine of astonishment. You have given a banner to them that fear you, that it may be displeased because of the truth.
It may be displayed.
Displayed, I'm sorry.
That banner's right outside on that on the ceiling out there, right?
Right.
Okay.
I'm sorry, right? I'm going blind. Y'all heard that several times. Verse 5. That your beloved may be delivered, say with your right hand and hear me. Elohim have spoken in his holiness. I will rejoice. I will divide Shechem and mete out the valley of Succoth. Gilead is mine, and Manasseh is mine. Ephraim also is the strength of mine head. Yehuda is my lawgiver. Moab is my washpot. Over Edom will I cast out my shoe. Philistia triumph you because of me. Who will bring me into the strong city?
Who's going to take me into the strong city? Who's going to lead me into Edom? Go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 10. Will not you, O Elohim, which had cast us off, and you, O Elohim, which did not go out with our armies, give us help from trouble, for vain is the help of man. Through Elohim we shall do valiantly, for he it is that shall tread down our enemies.
Okay, my brother. Now, when the appropriate trumpets blows, the princes assemble, appoint David as commander, and march to Zion, 20 million plus people. Then the word goes forth that the true Jews have returned to Zion in power, and Russia leads the armies against Judah. Let's go pick that up. Daniel 11 and verse 45 through chapter 12 and verse 3. Let's see what's going to happen then. Daniel 11 and verse 45 through chapter 12 and verse 3. The events I'm giving you, these things are going to happen step by recompensing step. Yeah. Where I told you to go?
Daniel chapter 11, verse 45.
No. Revelations 11 and verse 15 and through verse 19. I'm sorry, y'all forgive me for that. Revelations chapter 11 and verse 15 through verse 19. Revelations chapter 11 and verse 15 through verse 19. Now, Yahweh had two witnesses in the city that was prophesying against what was going on. And all of a sudden, those two olive trees were killed. Now, we know that these were angels that had manifested bodies, right? And they were killed, right? And after 3 days, they was raised up. And everybody wondered about that thing that was going on, right? And a voice said, come up here. Okay, Go ahead and read. Why I come up there? Because it's almost time for the Messiah to return. Go ahead and read, brother.
Revelations chapter 11, verses 15 through 19. And the seventh angel sounded, and there were great voices in heaven saying, the kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of our Adonai and of his anointed one. And he shall reign forever and ever. And the 24 elders which sat before Elohim on their seats fell upon their faces and worshiped Yah, saying, we give thee thanks, O Adonai Elohim Almighty, which are and was and are to come, because you have taken to you your great power and have reigned. And the nations were angry, and your wrath is come, and the time of the dead that they should be judged, and that you should give reward unto your servants the prophets, and to the saints, and them that fear your name, small and great, and should destroy them which destroy the earth. And the temple of Elohim was opened in heaven, and there was seen in his temple the ark of his testament, and there were lightnings and voices and thunderings and an earthquake and great hail.
So those three witnesses after the 3.5 year period, those three witnesses was resurrected, and they went up into heaven, right? And once they was in heaven, now it's time for the heavenly host to come back to this earth. Revelation 16 and verse 7 through verse 21. What?
Two witnesses.
The elder, we see that it said destroy them. It said destroy them being for the earth, and we know it says them in Isaiah that the earth will be for the honor they have to build because it's supposed to have a lasting covenant of the laws, right?
Because they changed the laws, broken the everlasting covenant, and we know that the nations on the earth has changed all the laws. Yahweh said that Abib, which falls on the new moon in between March and April, we knows that Yahweh said Abib is the beginning of the year. White folks changed to January, right? We know that Saturday, what they call Saturday, the seventh day, is the Sabbath. They changed it to the first day of the week, right? Then they gave us all these pagan holidays and everything to keep, and Yahweh haven't said anything about these days. All these things are brought upon us by men simply because Lucifer is the prince of this earth, and he's been running it good for the last 6,000 years. Where I told you go, man?
Revelations chapter 16, verses 7 through 21.
Yeah.
And I heard another out of the altar say, even so, Adonai Elohim Almighty, true and righteous are your judgments. And the fourth angel poured out his vial upon
No, I'm sorry, brother.
Oh, okay.
Revelation 16, and pick that up at verse 12. I'm sorry.
Revelation 16, verse 12. And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water there was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. And I saw three unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. For they are spirits of devils, working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world, to gather them to the battle of that great day of Elohim Almighty. Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watches and keeps his garments, lest he walk naked, and they see his shame. And he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon.
Okay, go on down to 17 through verse 21.
And the seventh angel poured out his vial into the air, and there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne, saying, it is done.
It's done. It's all over with, right? The time is at hand. Go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 18. And there were voices and thunders and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake, such as was not since men were upon the earth, so mighty an earthquake and so great. And the great city was divided into three parts, and the cities of the nations fell, and great Babylon came in remembrance before Elohim to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. And every island fled away, and the mountains were not found. And there fell upon men a great hail out of heaven, every stone about the weight of a talent, and men blaspheme Elohim because of the plague of the hail, for the plague thereof was exceeding great.
Okay, let's pick up the next event. Joel chapter 2 in verse 1 through verse 20. Joel chapter 2 in verse 1 through verse 20. Joel chapter 2, verse 1 through verse 20.
Yes, sir. Blow you the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of Yahweh cometh, for it is nigh at hand. A day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness, as the morning spread upon the mountains. A great people and a strong, that have not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations.
So now we go into war with the enemies of our land, and the trumpet is blown, an alarm, right? Because we go into war. People coming up to the land, the nations are coming up to the land to destroy Judah, because Judah has went into the city and retaken that city back. But go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 3, a fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame burneth. The land is as the garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness. Yea, and nothing shall escape them. The appearance of them is as the appearance of horses, and as horsemen so shall they run. Like the noise of chariots on the tops of mountains shall they leap. Like the noise of a flame of fire that devoureth the stubble, as a strong people set in battle array. Before their face the people shall be much pain. All faces shall gather blackness. They shall run like mighty men. They shall climb the wall like men of war, and they shall march every one on his ways, and they shall not break their ranks.
So they're invading the city, right? Go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 8. Neither shall one thrust another. They shall walk every one in his path. And when they fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded.
When somebody try to attack them, they ain't going to even miss. They lose 2 million men. They aren't even going to miss them. We talking about 200 million people. Didn't he say 200,000? Well, that's 200 million, ain't it? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 9. They shall run to and fro in the city. They shall run upon the wall. They shall climb up upon the houses. They shall enter in at the windows like a thief. The earth shall quake before them. The heavens shall tremble, the sun and the moon shall be dark, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. And Yahweh shall utter his voice before his army, for his camp is very great. For he is strong that executeth his word. For the day of Yahweh is great and very terrible, and who can abide it? Therefore also now, says Yahweh, turn you even to me with all your heart, and with fasting, and with weeping, and with mourning. And rend your heart, and not your garments, and turn unto Yahweh your Elohim, for he is gracious and merciful, slow to anger, and of great kindness, and repenteth him of the evil. Who knoweth if he will return and repent, and leave a blessing behind him, even a meat offering and a drink offering unto Yahweh your Elohim. Blow the trumpet in Zion, sanctify a fast, call a solemn assembly.
Now the people, remember, he said, blow the trumpet in Zion. The people are coming up, and they've invaded the city, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 6.
16.
Gather the people. 16, Sanctify the congregation, assemble the elders, gather the children and those that suck the breast. Let the bridegroom go forth of his chamber, and the bride out of her closet. Let the priests, the ministers of Yahweh, weep between the porch and the altar, and let them say, spare thy people, O Yahweh, and give not thine heritage to reproach, that the heathen should rule over them. Why should they say among the people, where is their Elohim? Then will Yahweh be jealous for his land and pity his people. Yea, Yahweh will answer and say unto his people, behold, I will send you corn and wine and oil, and you shall be satisfied therewith, and I will no more make you a reproach among the heathen.
So we know he's not talking about all the nations on the earth. He's talking about one nation of people, us, the children of Israel. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 20. But I will remove far off from you the northern army, and will drive him into a land barren and desolate, with his face toward the east sea, and his hinder part toward the utmost sea. And his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he have done great things.
Chapter 3, in verse 1 through verse 16.
Well, you're right, because it says the saints should take the kingdom and possess it. And in Acts chapter 2, the YaChov, when you restore the kingdom unto us.
Right, and that's what people miss.
Like the saints that govern the earth. He said,
Right. Right, that's what people miss, that in the book of Acts, the apostles even asked the Messiah, Adonai, are you at this time going to restore the kingdom to Israel? Folks don't ever read that. Folks don't ever read the salvation is of the Jews, see? Folks get out there in them whorehouses and get tainted with one of them venereal diseases, and they don't want to come out from under that stuff. You know why? They can have it, and they don't have to do nothing for it, just feel good about it. Yeah, chapter 3, in verse 1 through verse 16.
Blow, if you go to war in your land against the enemies that oppress you, then you shall blow in the alarm with the trumpet, and you shall be remembered before Yahweh your Elohim. You shall be saved from your enemies.
Correct.
So it's consistently being told in our land. We just have to know at the appointed time.
Line upon line, precept upon precept, and he told you exactly what you have to do. Exactly. But this is not what people get when they go into church, brother. You know why? They get fed a bunch of poison. They don't get this thing. Yahweh said, I don't do anything till I tell my servants, the prophets, first. I hear everybody reading out the New Testament. See? All day long, you go to church, read our New Testament, and not understanding the New Testament can be said in its entirety in the Old Testament. All you got to do is know where it goes at. You see, I don't even know why they call it the New Testament, because it's nothing new. The New Covenant is not written in the New Testament. The New Covenant is written in the Old Testament. And they say the New Covenant means to reveal. They didn't reveal the New Covenant, did it? Okay. Go ahead and read, brother.
Yoel chapter 3, verses 1 through 16. For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Yehuda and Jerusalem.
Nah, he didn't say he was going to bring all of Israel. He said the captivity of who? Judah and Jerusalem. Why do you think we used to sing, "'Tis that old ship of Zion"? Zion is Judah. Huh? Why do you think we sang, "I'm going down to the River Jordan one of these days. I'm going to sit at the welcome table. I'm going to feast on milk and honey"? Ain't that what we said? But what did folks tell us? We sang, "Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. I looked over Jordan, and what did I see? A band of angels coming after me, coming for to carry me home," right? Why do we sing all of those Negro spirituals, and all this stuff is written in the prophets here, and then folks tell us, say, well, God didn't mean none of that stuff. Christ nailed all of that stuff to the cross. He got rid of y'all and chose us. If I don't get saved, you can forget it.
What their brother said. What they buddies say they so crazy about. Show you they don't even read the New Testament, do they?
No.
They say, Saul say, I say then, have Elohim cast away his people?
Elohim forbid. For I also am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. Yahweh haven't cast away his people that he foreknew. Don't you know what the scripture says of Elias, how he's make intercessions against Israel, saying, Yahweh, they've killed your prophets, dug down your altar, and I am left alone, and they seek my life. But what saith the Lord unto him? I reserved to myself 7,000 men that has not bowed the knee to the image of Baal. Even at this present day, there's a remnant according to the election of grace, and it's by grace. There's no more work than Israel can do to get it.
Amen.
Israel gonna be saved. If Israel don't be saved, Israel is the only nation represented in heaven. The only nation that's represented in heaven. And they're gonna tell me, well, God got rid of y'all. Well, if he did, he got rid of heaven, because the temple in heaven that Israel sits in, the temple in heaven has a crown of 12 stars, and each one star is for each one of the 12 tribes, ain't it? Okay.
He also told you if he got rid of the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the ordinances of the sun and the moon was going to cease to exist. Right?
Everything would turn to a cinder if he got rid of our people. You know why? He lied. And it's impossible for Yahweh to lie. Go ahead and read, bro.
Yahweh say, hear this, all ye nations, and declare it to the eyes of far off. He that scattered Israel will regather them.
Right.
He let them, the nation, he let them know. This is what he do. You understand?
Brother, we got so much confusion because they seal up that part of the book. They seal up the Old Testament. The only thing they go back in the Old Testament and get out of there is tithes. Okay. Go ahead and read, Steve.
Yes, sir. Yoel chapter 3, verse 1. For behold, in those days and in that time when I shall bring again the captivity of Yehuda and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage, Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land.
He's gathering all the nations, right? Remember we read they was going to invade the city and all, to climb the walls like thieves and everything, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 3. And they have cast lots for my people, and have given a bar for a harlot and sold a girl for wine, that they might drink. Yea, and what have you to do with me, O Tyre and Sidon, and all the coast of Philistia? Will you render me a recompense? And if you recompense me, swiftly and speedily will I return your recompense upon your own head, because you have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temples my goodly, pleasant things.
Look over there in Europe. They got all of our stuff over there, man. Especially in the Roman Catholic Church and in the British Museum of Natural History.
Right.
They got all of our stuff. Everybody got some of it but us.
Right.
Go on and read, brother.
Verse 6. The children also of Yehuda and the children of Jerusalem have you sold unto the Grecians, that you might remove them far from their border. Behold, I will raise them out of the place whither you have sold them, and will return your recompense upon your own head. And I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the children of Yehuda, and they shall sell them to the Sabaeans, to a people far off, for Yahweh have spoken it. Proclaim you this among the Euro Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up.
Well, you know he ain't talking about us because we ain't got no army.
That's the 22s.
See.
But they in the pawn shop, though, right?
Go to read, brother.
Verse, to next payday.
The Grecians let me know that the people that with this European, their culture extensions coming from Rome, the same people that ruling, how the fourth beast still running, is still, they didn't speak of no other beast, no other nation beside them, right?
When you speak of the Greeks, one of those nations, I know who he's talking about. He's talking about the Gentiles, plural. When he talked about the Assyrians, he was talking about the Gentiles, plural. Okay. Go ahead and read, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 10. Beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong.
Right, get ready. All them fancy, high-powered genies y'all got, and all these war equipment, get yourself ready. Come on up here. Y'all got Star Wars in place, got stuff all under the ground, all out in the sea, watching folks and everything, all up in the heaven. Come on up here. Y'all can see a gnat pee on cotton at 200 miles. See? At 200 miles. Come on up here. I got something for you. Yeah, go ahead and read, brother.
Yes, sir. Yoel chapter 3, verse 11. Assemble yourselves and come, all you heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about.
Mm-hmm.
Put you in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get you down, for the press is full, the vats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of Yahweh is near in the valley of decision. The sun and the moon shall be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. Yahweh also shall roar out of Zion, and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens and the earth shall shake, but Yahweh will be the hope of his people and the strength of the children of Israel.
Okay.
So shall you know that I am Yahweh, your Elohim, dwelling in Zion, my holy mountain. Then shall Jerusalem be holy, and thou shalt no strangers pay.
You're supposed to stop at verse 16.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Got a little carried away, brother.
It said, put you in the sickle. Verse 13, put you in the sickle. For the harvest is ripe. Come, get you down, for the press is full. The fats overflow, right? For their wickedness is great. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision. For the day of Yahweh is near in the valley of decision, right? Okay. Now let's go and pick up what's going to happen right then. Let's go into Revelation chapter 14, my brother, and I want you to pick that up at verse 17 through verse 20. So y'all don't get no jump when y'all come up in here.
Yeah. Hallelujah.
Where can you go? Revelation 14.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Verse 17. And another angel came out of the temple which is in heaven, he also having a sharp sickle.
He told him, say, thrust in the sickle, right? Okay, go ahead, brother.
Verse 18. And another angel came out from the altar which had power over fire, and cried with a loud cry to him that had the sharp sickle, saying, thrust in thy sharp sickle, and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe. And the angel thrust in his sickle into the earth, and gathered the vine of the earth, and cast it into the great winepress of the wrath of Elohim. And the winepress was trodden outside the city, and blood came out of the winepress, even unto the horse's bridle, by the space of 20 miles.
By the face of 20 miles. Can you imagine a blood on the ground about 5 hands high for 20 miles? But you talk about 200 million people. Okay, Daniel 11 in verse 45. Let's see what brought this about. Daniel 11 in verse 45 through chapter 12 in verse 3. Let's see what brought that about. Daniel 11 in verse 45 through chapter 12 and verse 3. See, this is what I like about Yahweh. He tell you everything going to take place before it happened, and then show you it happening.
You go to the trumpet all the time, the word too, lift your voice like a trumpet. So that people find you got some trumpet.
Right. Folks don't want to know their transgression, though, brother. Folks think that they've been in the Word for a while, and they do so much work. They miss the goody two-shoes. They don't have to do nothing, just walk and float. Right. All right. I'm going to let my works take care of me. No, you ain't. Faith without works is no good. Well, works without faith is no good. Yeah. Go ahead and read, Steve.
Yes, sir. Daniel chapter 11, verse 45. And he shall plant the tabernacles of his palace between the seas and the glorious holy mountain. Yet shall he come to his end, and none shall help him.
So the Pope was already in Zion, right? When Judah went to Zion, right? He had set up because Rome had been destroyed, and he was set up, right? Go ahead, brother.
Daniel chapter 12, verse 1. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which stands for the children of thy people, and that shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time your people shall be delivered, everyone that shall be found written in the book. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt.
Many of them that sleep in the dust, not all of them. Many gonna wake. Some is gonna wake to everlasting life, and the rest is gonna sleep to shame and everlasting contempt, and they're gonna miss Yahshua's great rule upon this earth. And when they wake up, you ain't got no business being dead during the time the Messiah is here on earth. You're gonna be woke up to be thrown in that lake of fire. No doubt about it. Go ahead, brother.
Last verse 3. And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever.
That's why I tell y'all, go out there, talk about what you know. Get folks in here. Talk about what you know, because our time is at hand. Revelation 19 and verse 11 through verse 19. I don't see how people can read this New Testament and don't read the Old, because they never that's why they don't understand it. Talking about the New Testament is the revelation. Revelation of what? You walk around talking about, oh yes, I'm a Christian, and something been revealed to you? Christ says salvation is of the Jew. If you're going to be a Christian because of what the word means, that you are a follower of the Messiah. Well, the Messiah walked in Yahweh's law. Okay. Right, but see, if you want to deal with that, then deal with that. Call yourself a Christian. But remember one thing, Christ didn't say salvation is of the Christians. Christ said salvation is of the Jews. Okay, where I told you to go, man. Revelation 19.
Verse 11.
Verse 11.
And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse. And he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he doth judge and make war.
So Michael stood up. He's the commander that stands for he's the prince that stands up for the children of Israel, right? He commands Yahweh's host. He stood up and commanded the host. It's time for the Messiah to come. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 12. His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his heads were many crowns, and he had a name written that no man knew but he himself. And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of Elohim. And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. And out of his mouth goes a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations. And he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and he treads the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of Almighty Elohim. And he had on his vesture and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings and Adonai of Lords. And I saw an angel standing in the sun, and he cried with a loud voice, saying to all the fowls that fly in the midst of heaven, come and gather yourselves together unto the supper of the great Elohim, that you may eat the flesh of kings, and the flesh of captains, and the flesh of mighty men, and the flesh of horses, and of them that sat on them, and the flesh of all men, both free and bond, both small and great. And I saw the beasts and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army.
Okay, so it was darkness all over the earth, right? Then lightning shine from the east to the west as heaven open, right? Michael and the Messiah and all the hosts of heaven, the angels and the 24 elders was coming down to the earth, right? Okay, now let's go into 1 Corinthians 15 and verse 51 through verse 53. 1 Corinthians 15 and verse 51 through verse 53. Did what I say? I'm in 2 Corinthians. No wonder I can't find it. 1 Corinthians 15.
2 Corinthians. It's no 15.
1 Corinthians 15, and verse 51 through verse 53. 1 Corinthians 15, and verse 51 through verse 53.
Verse 51. Behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed.
All of us ain't going to die. But all of us, eventually, all of us going to be changed. One thing Yahweh promised, every creature, every soul of man that was created, that's eternal life. It's up to him where you to spend it. It ain't up to you. See, the story was already written. The name was already written in the Lamb's Book of Life. It ain't up to you. It's up to Yahweh. Mm-hmm. He going to do it. You ain't going to do nothing but wiggle and poop.
Oh.
Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 52. In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump. For the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. For this corruptible must put on incorruption, And this mortal must put on immortality.
Okay, so the Messiah was coming out of heaven. The dead in the Messiah was rising up to meet him in the air, right? Folks say, that's when we're going up to heaven, right? Let's go see. Zechariah 14 and verse 1 through verse 7. Huh? Yeah.
I have a question, and then what's the use of free will? I mean, if all these things are preordained and there's nothing, to do, why would God give us?
You have the choice whether your name stays in the Lamb's Book of Life or not. That's what free will is all about. You have a choice, just like Adam did. One thing Yahweh did to every creature that he created was give him free will. He wrote the story and said, if you do this and you do that, then this is going to happen to you. If you don't, then I'm going to blot your name out this book. That's what free will is all about, brother, for you to make the decision whether you're going to do what's right or not.
So there's no change. There's no, everything that, it must come to pass as far as in this book.
Mm-hmm.
There cannot be a change. There's no,
Mm-hmm.
and because free will would not allow that, because like you said, the choices are just basically if you decide to go left or right.
Correct. You don't have no choice on whether you receive salvation or not. The names are the reason why people hear this word is because the names are written in the Lamb's book. But they was given the opportunity to either have it kept in there or to get it blocked out. But the names is already written. Okay, go ahead, dear.
I think you answered my question. Every creature that was ever born, human being, name is written in the Lamb's Book of Life or the Book of Life. Is it two books?
Two different books. Everybody is written in the Book of Life because everybody was born. Everybody is written in the Lamb's Book of Life is not everybody that was born. See, Yahweh has already appointed some to the sword, some to the flame, and some to the captivity. See, and some to death. Yahweh has already appointed. It's some people that, like I keep saying, you cannot serve Yahweh unless he wants you to. You see, and some people try to serve him. They build hospitals. They do all kind of nice stuff and for everybody and everything. They're always singing religious songs and so forth and so on, and they're going to bust that lake of fire right wide open. See, you can't serve the Creator unless he wants you to. Okay.
With Iscariot as an example, he was doing worse, right?
Right. That's right. He was already appointed to betray the Messiah before he was born. I mean, even it said in the Psalm, let his bishopric let another take. Say, cast it to the potter, right? A lordly price they paid for me, 30 pieces of silver. So he had to do what he did.
People don't understand, like my thoughts are not your thoughts. Mm-hmm. A man think different, I don't know, he said enough Esau and hate Jacob.
But we got to understand. We got to understand. Lucifer raised us up from the cradle, teaching us how and what to think. And what he did was he gave us those personal feelings. Well, I think this and I don't feel that. What you think and what you feel ain't got nothing to do with what's written in this book. See, okay.
That's what he said. It's not good to have respect of persons, but he that rebuked them received salvation. So
correct.
It's not about it's dealing with the word of God.
Correct. Where I told you to go, brother.
Because some were born unto man back with Adam, and some were born, that's what it talks about, the giants, and some were born unto the other, and those are the sons of the living Lord Yahweh, the different sons.
You had different sons. You had two sons. From the garden, you had two sons. You say, I'm going to put an adversary between your seed and the woman's seed. You're going to bruise his heel, he's going to bruise your head. So you had a good seed, and you had the holy seed. There came a time when the sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were fair to look upon, and they began to take them wives of all who they choose. A lot of people say those are angels. Angels don't have sex. Angels don't reproduce. It was the holy seed that was marrying into the children of Cain, Lucifer's children, right? And what happened was that they produced giants, men of old, men of renown that hated God. See, that's what that was all about, brother. Okay, where I told you to go. Huh?
No one survived the flood but
no one survived the flood but the holy seed. That's who survived the flood. But Satan was still here. Okay, so he still went right on among men and did just what he was supposed to do, and we receive the results of it today. Lucifer wasn't going to give up. Well,
When you say giants, do you mean physical giants or men of power?
giants.
Giant. Like Shaquille.
No, Shaquille O'Neal ain't a giant. He's the son of a giant. Goliath was 9 feet tall. Okay, that was a couple of feet taller than most folks we know. Where I told you to go, man? Zechariah 14. Okay, the Messiah was coming, right? Michael was commanding the army. The Messiah was on the lead, right? The dead rose up when he came out under the clouds. Remember, it was darkness. When he came under the cloud, the dead rose up and met him. Then those that was alive rose up to meet them, right? Let's go to Zechariah 14 and pick that up at verse 1 through verse 7, my brother.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Behold, the day of Yahweh cometh, and our spoils shall be divided in the midst of thee. For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, and the women ravished, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity, and the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city.
Now, the people that's going into captivity is Esau. He told us that Esau is going into captivity. Esau and Edom and Moab, we know that they're going into captivity on us, right? Go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 3. Then shall the Adonai go forth and fight against those nations as when he fought in the day of battle. And his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives.
Ain't that's where he left from? And the angel said, you men of Galilee, why y'all stand gazing in heaven? The same way he left is the same way he's going to come with the clouds of heaven, right? Coming right back where he left from, the Mount of Olives. Go ahead, brother.
Which is before Jerusalem on the east, and the mountain of Olives shall cleave in the midst thereof toward the east and toward the west, and there shall be a very great valley, and half of the mountain shall remove toward the north, and half of it toward the south.
So when you stand on that mountain is going to bust in half and create a great valley, isn't it? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 5. And you shall flee to the valley of the mountains, for the valley of the mountains shall reach unto Azal.
In other words, the valley is going to be 20 miles. Go ahead, brother.
Yea, you shall flee like as you fled from before the earthquake in the days of Uzziah, king of Yehudah, and Yahweh my Elohim shall come, and all the saints with you. And it shall come to pass in that day that the light shall not be clear nor dark, but it shall be one day which shall be known to Yahweh, nor day nor night, but it shall come to pass that at evening time it shall be light.
Okay, so Messiah came and he stood on the Mount of Olives, right? Now let's go fight this battle. Ezekiel 39, he done told you about gathering all the nation, they invading the city with all that sophistication and everything they got. Let's go see what Yahweh think about their sophistication. Ezekiel 39, and pick that up at verse 1, I think that's through 11, my brother.
Yes, sir.
Earlier we read that the blood is going to reach up onto the horse's girdle, and that the blood is going to from long as 20 miles. Is it between those two mountains?
What?
Is it between those two?
That's right. Ezekiel 39 in verse 1 through verse 11.
Therefore, thou son of man, prophesy against the prince, and say, Thus says the Adonai Elohim, Behold, I am against thee, O God, the chief prince of Moscow and Tubals. And I will turn thee back, and leave but the sixth part of thee, and will cause thee to come up from the north parts, and will bring thee upon the mountains of Israel. And I will smite thy bow out of thy left hand, and will cause thine arrows to fall out of thy right hand. Thou shalt fall upon the mountains of Israel, thou and all thy bands, and the people that is with thee. I will give thee unto the ravenous birds of every sort, and to the beasts of the field to be devoured.
We just read that in Revelation, where he called, the angel stood up and called all the feathered fowl. He says, y'all come on, gather yourself to this great supper, so y'all can eat the flesh of kings and captains and mighty men, right? Go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 5. Thou shalt fall upon the open field, for I have spoken it, says the Adonai Elohim. And I will send a fire on the land of Russia, and among them that dwell carelessly in the isles, and they shall know that I am Yahweh.
In other words, all them islands out there and everything, what are you going to do? Destroy them folks. See? You ain't going to need no people even on the islands. They're going to be staying all on the Eurasian African continent at that time, won't they? Okay, go ahead, brother.
Verse 7. So will I make my holy name known in the midst of my people Israel, and I will not let them pollute my holy name anymore, and the heathen shall know that I am Yahweh, the Holy One in Israel.
I'm Yahweh, the Holy One of Israel, and whoever grab on to Israel, right? Folks ain't grabbing on us, man. Folks running from us. You know what they call us? A cult. But didn't they accuse the master of the same thing? Okay. And they used that same law as the tool to destroy him with, didn't they? Okay, go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 8. Behold, it is come, and it is done, says the Adonai Elohim. This is the day whereof I have spoken. And they that dwell in the cities of Israel shall go forth and shall set on fire and burn the weapons, both the shields and the bucklers, the bows and the arrows, the handstaves and the spears, and they shall burn them with fire 7 years, so that they shall take no wood out of the field, neither cut down any out of the forest, for they shall burn the weapons with fire, and they shall spoil those that spoil them, and rob those that rob them, says the Adonai Elohim. And it shall come to pass in that day that I will give unto the prince a place thereof graves in Israel, the valley of the passengers on the east of the sea, and it shall stop the noses of the passengers, and there shall they bury the prince and all his multitude, and they shall call it the valley of Haman God.
The valley of Harmon-Geddon, right? Okay, now let's go into Zechariah 12 and read verse 1 through verse 11. Zechariah chapter 12 and verse 1 through verse 11. You can go to one of them Christian churches for 100 years and they never put this here together for you. You know why? That's what the Spirit does, see? Niggas like to walk around. White folks done told us, when you walk around, listen to them charismatic Christians. See? You got to walk around speaking that yin-yang and falling all out and acting the fool in church, disrupting service, right? That's not what, you can't show me no place in the scripture where the Holy Ghost did that. Zechariah chapter 12. Is that where I said? Yeah. Zechariah chapter 12, and pick that up, my brother, at verse 1.
The burden of the word of Yahweh for Israel, says Yahweh, which stretches forth the heavens and lays the foundation of the earth and forms the spirit of man within him.
Now this is a burden for us, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 2. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all the people round about, when they shall be in the siege both against Yehudah and against Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
And in that day will I make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people. All that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces, though all the people of the earth be gathered together against it.
It didn't say part of the people. It said all of the people going to be gathered against it, didn't it? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 4. And that day, says Yahweh, I will smite every horse with astonishment and his rider with madness, and I will open mine eyes upon the house of Yehudah, and will smite every horse of the people with blindness. And the governors of Yehudah shall say in their heart, the inhabitants of Jerusalem shall be my strength in Yahweh of hosts, their Elohim.
Mm-hmm.
In that day will I make the governors of Yehudah like a hearth of fire among the wood, and like a torch of fire in a sheaf, and they shall devour all the people round about on the right hand and on the left. And Jerusalem shall be inhabited again in her own place, even in Jerusalem.
And just think, for the first time in 2,000 years, you went to war. He said, Judah is the majestic white horse that he's going to ride in the battle. That's why he got to save you first. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 7. Yahweh also shall save the tents of Yehudah first.
Folks talking about they going to be saved first. From what I read, it's Judah going to be saved first. Go ahead and read, brother.
That the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Yehudah.
Glory and honor to the Jew first. Tribulation and anguish to the Jew first. and then to the Euro-Gentile. We've been receiving our tribulation and anguish for the past, since 606 BC, right? Now it's their turn. Now I'm going to see how you like that. Yeah. I'm going to see how you like Judah driving down the street and L dogs with eyeglasses on the front of them, mink coats dragging the ground and stuff. Yeah, diamond rings all up and down your arm. Yeah, we're going to see. Yeah, that's what they're doing. And that's what they're doing. They got all the gold, the silver, the diamonds, everything, right? Okay, go downtown and go up on some of them buildings, look at the chief cornerstone, see what you see on them buildings downtown. Yeah. And that's not in just Atlanta, that's in all the major metropolitan cities. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 8. In that day shall Yahweh defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as Dawid, and the house of Dawid shall be as Elohim, as the angel of Yahweh before them.
Mm-hmm.
And it shall come to pass in that day that I will seek to destroy all the nations that come against Jerusalem. And I will pour upon the house of Dawid and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and of supplication.
Who are you going to pour that on? The house of Dawid and the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and Judah is going to be in Jerusalem, right? He said, I'm going to pour on you the spirit of grace and of supplication, and they're going to look upon me whom I have pierced. Whom they have pierced, right? Go ahead, brother.
And they shall mourn for him as one mourns for his only son, and shall be in bitterness for him, as one that is in bitterness for his firstborn. And that day shall there be a great mourning in Jerusalem, as the mourning of Hadad Rimmon in the valley of Megiddo.
Okay, let's go and put that in place. Revelation chapter 19 and verse 20 through chapter 20 and verse 6. Revelation chapter 19 and verse 20 through chapter 20 and verse 6. I tell you what you do, my brother. Why don't you pick it up at verse 19 and verse 19.
Verse 19. And I saw the beasts and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against them that sat on the horse and against his army. And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worship his image. These both were cast alive into a lake of fire burning with brimstone.
Two people, the beast and the false prophet, right? This pope they just elected. Let him, the one they call Papa, let him live another 7 years. It's him.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, brother.
Verse 21. And the remnant was slain with the sword of him that sat upon the horse, which sword proceeded out of his mouth, and all the fowls were filled with their flesh. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that, he must be loose a little season.
Right, 3 months. It's 3 months in the season, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 4. And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahshua, and for the word of Elohim, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands, and they live and reign with the Mashiach 1,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest of the dead live not again until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection. Blessed and holy is he that have part in the first resurrection. On the such the second death have no power, but they shall be priests of Elohim and of the Mashiach, and shall reign with him 1,000 years.
Okay, my brother, now let's go into Zechariah chapter 14 and verse 8 through verse 20.
This is the same 1,000 years in both 3 and 4, where he said that he set a seal upon the bottomless pit, that he should not trouble the nation for 1,000 years, and they reign for 1,000 years.
Satan can't be upon the earth while the Messiah is here, with his kingdom, brother. So you're gonna lock him up, gonna put him in prison and lock him up. Gonna kill off the children, ain't he? His children, ain't he? Okay. Where I told you to go, man.
Zechariah chapter 14, verses 8 through 20.
Yeah. Huh?
Right, 14.
Zechariah? No. Zechariah chapter 14, verse 8 through verse 20.
Verse 8. And it shall be in that day that living water shall go out from Jerusalem, half of them toward the former sea, and half of them toward the hinder sea, in summer and in winter.
And as the leaves fall off the trees that bears the 12 manner of fruit, as the leaves fall off the trees into this water that come up from the right side of the temple and go out to the seas, it's for the healing of the waters. Okay, go ahead, brother.
Verse 9. And Yahweh shall be king over all the earth. In that day shall there be one master, and his name one. All the land shall be turned as a plain from Jeba to Rimmon south of Jerusalem, and it shall be lifted up and inhabited in her place from Benjamin's gate unto the place of the first gate, unto the corner gate, and from the tower of Hananeel unto the king's wine press.
In other words, all the mountains on the earth are going to be thrown down. Jerusalem, the city of Zion, is going to rise up on the mountain. It's going to be the highest place on the earth, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 12. And men shall dwell in it, and there shall be no more utter destruction, but Jerusalem shall be safely inhabited.
Praise Yah.
And this shall be the plague wherewith Yahweh will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. And it shall come to pass in that day that a great tumult from Yahweh shall be among them, and they shall lay hold every one on the hand of his neighbor, and his hand shall rise up against the hand of his neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
And Yehuda also shall fight at Jerusalem, and the wealth of all the heathen round about shall be gathered together, gold and silver and apparel in great abundance. And so shall be the plague of the horse, of the mule, of the camel, and of the ass, and of all the beasts that shall be in these tents as this plague. And it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King Yahweh of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles.
Wait a minute now. We got the Feast of Tabernacles coming up in our 7th month, right? Of the Hebrew calendar, right? Well, the nations ain't keeping it now, but he tell them they're going to keep it then. Something is wrong with that. You're on and you're off. You're on and you're off. No, Yahweh is consistent. That's why he told us you're going to do it forever throughout your generation and all your dwelling. Ask somebody in the Christian church, what day does the Day of Atonement come on? Cut. Ask them what day does Passover, Feast of Unleavened Bread, Feast of First Fruit, the Feast of Weeks, Feast of the Trumpets, the Day of Atonement. Ask them. Cut. Oh, we don't have to do that no more. He say from one new, all these people going to do that, right? Okay, go ahead and read, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 17. Zechariah chapter 14, verse 17. And it shall be that whoso will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, Yahweh of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain.
Don't come up this year, I ain't going to give you no rain. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 18. And if the family of Egypt go not up and come not that have no rain, there shall be the plague, wherewith Yahweh will smite the heathen that come not up to keep the feast of Tabernacles.
Right. Don't come the first year, you ain't going to get no rain. You don't come the next year, I'm going to put the plague on you. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 19. This shall be the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of all nations that come not up to keep the feast of Tabernacles. In that day shall there be upon the bells of the horses holiness unto Yahweh, and the pots in Yahweh's house shall be like the bowls before the altar.
And all you got to do is get in the book of Ezekiel, Start reading at Ezekiel 40 about the new temple and read up to the end of the chapter. You're going to see how everything is going to be set up, how you're going to come in and go out of the temple. Everything is already written down. This is why Yahweh said, I don't do anything until I tell my servants, the prophets, first. You tell them what I say. So you got to have the spirit to deal with this. What folks call the spirit ain't no spirit. I don't know what they're dealing with. Okay, you finished that up, right, brother? Read verse 21.
Last verse 21. Yea, every part in Jerusalem and in Yehuda shall be holiness unto Yahweh of hosts. And all they that sacrifice shall come and take of them and seed therein. And in that day there shall be no more the Canaanite in the house of Yahweh of hosts.
Okay, my brother. Now the seventh trumpet sounded. The seventh vial was poured out. The beast invaded Zion, and Michael gathered the master's army. Then heavens opened, and Yeshua, the king of Israel, descends. And as he returned, the dead saints arise. Then the live saints are changed, and they meet him as he descends. Yeshua stands on the Mount of Olives, defeats Lucifer's army. Lucifer is cast into his prison, and his 6,000 reign of terror on the earth is over. Now begins the 1,000-year reign of Yeshua, the Hebrew, with his kingdom of Israelite priests. Now let's go and see what's going to take place, some of the things that's going to take place during that kingdom. Let's hear the conclusion of this matter. Isaiah chapter 59 and verse 17 through chapter 66 and verse 24. Huh? She ain't gonna sit up. He's gonna sit up and dictatorship. That's what it's gonna be. Whatever he said is gonna take place on earth. If he say die, you fall dead. If he say live, you raise up. Okay. Isaiah chapter 59, and pick that up at verse 17, my brother.
Yes, sir. For he put on righteousness as a breastplate, and an helmet of salvation upon his head. And he put on the garments of vengeance for clothing, and was clad with zeal as a cloak. According to their deeds, accordingly he will repay fury to his adversaries, recompense to his enemies. To the islands he will repay recompense. So shall they fear the name of Yahweh from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the Spirit of Yahweh shall lift up a standard against
And the standard of who? The standard of the house of Judah. Yeah. Go ahead, man. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 20. And the Mashiach shall come to Yehuda, and unto them that turn from transgression in YaChov, says Yahweh. As for me, this is my covenant with them.
That's what it's all about. Who the covenant was made with. See? And it said at verse 21, as for me, this is my covenant with them, saith Yahweh. My spirit that is upon you, and my words that I put in your mouth shall not depart out of your mouth, nor out of your mouth of your seed, nor out of your mouth of your seed, saith Yahweh, from henceforth even forever.
A lot of times I try to tell people, our people that, you're a special chosen people. I said, you walk around here acting like you're special, but you don't know what you're special for. That will end the conversation real quick, so I know not to go there.
Folks know there's something different about them. They just haven't figured it out yet, because the niggas in them churches, and them white folks in them Christian churches, and them Muslim churches, you see what they be doing? Got black folks who walk around here chanting. Check that out. Brother tell me, oh man, you need to chant, man. Oh man, just sit down, none your hole, none. Say, nigga, what am I gonna get out of that? I don't even know what I'm saying.
But then Yahshua told them not to what the heathens, because they like to make praise in the street, all these salats and things they do openly. So everything is secret.
Right. Go ahead and read, Steve. Yes.
So, as you have read, what would be our mission as far as here on earth? As far as if, like I said, all these things are going to come to pass, what would be our calling? What is our purpose if there's no change?
Because Yahweh said you shall be a kingdom of priests, and that's your purpose. Your purpose is to give this truth to your neighbors so that they can find sanctuary so that they can be saved. That's your purpose. That was your purpose from the beginning. Yahweh After the flood, Yahweh just didn't deal with man. Then he called Abraham, gave him Isaac, gave Isaac Jacob, and gave Jacob 12 boys, and he gave them 12 boys in his word. And like he said in Amos, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. He said, you shall be a kingdom of priests unto me. So our job is to pass this word on to other folks so that they can be saved.
So during these times of the last days, our purpose is just basically to spread this word.
Correct. And to walk humbly and justly before your God as best as you can. To walk humbly and justly before your Elohim as best as you can. That's the job. Very simple. Okay.
The mission is sometimes because as you work this vineyard, you don't know where you're going to be and who you're going to run into contact with. All Israel is not Israel. And then sometimes with all the stuff that's going on in the world, people don't necessarily hear what thus saith the Lord. So when you come face to face with whatever situation that the Almighty places you in, then that's when you give that spirit that God has given to you and this word that you're learning right now. And then those people cannot say that nobody never told them.
That's right.
Right. See, there's only one spirit given. And all of us has become partakers of that one spirit. See, you don't leave and take the spirit with you. You take the word with you. Okay? You receive the words from the Spirit. So the word that you receive is this. When the Spirit, you talking with someone, and the Spirit bring things back to your remembrance in conversation, then that's what you give them so they will learn to have hope. They'd have something to have hope in. That's what it's all about, teaching the word.
So it's not basically about just coming on this earth, you know, getting a job, living, and making money, and trying to be successful that way.
If you do that, you're going to die. You got to understand who you get paid from. Lucifer pays you. Don't you work for Lucifer? You do. If you got a job, you do. The only jobs that Yahweh has, that the Spirit has given is right here in the body. He gave us gifts. He gave some prophets, some healers, some teachers, helps, governments, whatever the body needs, he gives us those gifts at a time. Okay, so the action is in here. And the way that the action this is sanctuary. The action gets here because this is the time that the priest's lips keep knowledge, that the priest teach you the way that you should go. What your job is to do, the only job you have is to get folks here.
If you try
walk humbly and just before your Elohim. Don't try to go out there and set up a congregation and call yourself a teacher, because it wasn't one spirit given, and everybody become partakers of that spirit. There's not a spirit here, a spirit over there, a spirit all over there like folks think. It was one spirit that was given. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Elder, but it's like you're saying, if you try to attain to the American dream, you'll never keep your eye on the prize.
Of course
it's
not.
It's going to throw you off.
Man, the Americans haven't even changed to the American dream yet.
That's why the devil should sit on a high mountain, right?
Mm-hmm. Show them all the kingdoms of the earth. Right. He told him, say, if you fall down and worship me, I give you all of this, because this is delivered to me, and I give it to who I will. Okay. Right. Many, they're gods, many, isn't it? Okay. And ain't all the crime about the money? Ain't all the crime about the money? Okay. Okay, well, we know when you read Ezekiel 28, we see what Lucifer's deal is, don't he? He control all the money and all the riches of the earth, don't he? Mm-hmm. Okay, go ahead, brother.
Was saying, what should we be doing? Because you hear all these radio talk shows that blacks are talking, and they know there's a problem and we're being killed off, etc. But they think that we're supposed to gather together like we did in the 60s, which we see that hasn't given us any fruit. It brought us further into degradation. So truly, just like the Brother Bob Marley said, how long shall they kill our prophets while we stand around and look? Some say it's just the start of it. We've got to fulfill the book. So everything that Yahweh written, all these curses, we've got to fulfill. So there's nothing we can do within this society, voting included, that's going to change our lot until Yahweh comes.
You're absolutely right, sister. All we got to do is go ahead and do what we got to do, and Yahweh is going to give us the protection we need. That's why we got a brother standing at that door over there. That's why we got deacons sit up here. See, we got to protect our prophets. we got to protect our teachers and so forth, because if we don't do it, who else is going to do it? And y'all know that they got us classified as terrorists. And y'all know what they do to terrorists, don't you? So if I get locked up, praise Yahweh that I've already, through the Spirit, some brothers has already been trained to teach this word. Now how they run the congregation, I don't know nothing about that. But they've already been trained to teach this word. But go ahead and finish up.
Another question to the right, brother.
This is my last point and last question. I promise I won't interrupt your service.
Do your thing, man. That's what I'm here for.
This is an interactive
The question I have is in response to that young lady right there, who basically, I kind of agree. I mean, how long do we sit and just be abused or taken advantage of? I mean, if the principles that, as you say, the European Americans or the people that are out there, it's not a secret, it's not a mystery. It's about organization and unity and coming together as one unified body and with the same goals to achieve whatever we're trying to achieve. I mean, I just don't, me personally, and this is just a personal belief, I don't believe that, if people don't vote, then of course they're going to keep running things and they're going to keep their people in the office.
They don't run things if you do, whether you vote or not.
You always having your boat down in Florida, don't you? They threw them in the Atlantic Ocean and in the Gulf of Mexico. It's not your popular vote. We can vote for anything we want to, but Yahweh told us in the law, we vote for a king. Yahweh told us in the law, if you vote for a king, if you appoint a king, he got to be from among your people. If you voted for George Bush, he's not among our people.
We can't get to that point because we don't even vote in the smaller part to get a king up.
We're not supposed to. How can you have a king? He just told you ain't gonna have no king, no prince, and no holy things of your own. Why you think there's nobody, and never been nobody in Congress that represent us as a people? See, that's come from, he told you learn not the ways of the heathen because they're vain. It's the heathens that practice democracy. Yahweh selected a family. He selected a tribe, a nation, a tribe, and a family, and a king out of that family. He did all the selecting. We didn't do nothing. Every time we went and grabbed somebody and put him up there, he ended up dying somewhere. Or he ended up taking the people down into captivity. Look what happened when after David died, after King Solomon died. Yahweh divided the house, and we've been divided ever since. You see, you know why? Folks decided they were going to choose who was going to be king and what they was going to do.
Elder, can I
touch on that? See, like, brother, when you're talking about voting, the way I calculated it, and like you said, your personal thing is my personal thing, we still consider 1/3 of a human being in this country.
Amen.
It takes 5 of us to get one vote counted. You feel what I'm saying?
I don't understand.
It's just guttural math, brother. We don't count. They didn't build this system for us to vote. We don't own land. The vote still is for landowners and property owners. We don't own businesses.
And besides, the popular vote does not elect the king. The electoral vote does. And we don't control any of the electoral votes. So why do we go to the polls then? Huh? Why do we go through that whole fiasco of going down there, registering the vote, putting the lever and everything, sitting down, deciding, well, I think this, listen to all them lies they be telling. And you know yourself, George Bush and Kerry wasn't doing nothing but just saying what they think the people wanted to hear. It ain't had nothing to do with what they were going to do. Now, why should we listen to all of that and go through this whole process when it's not even necessary?
It's like lambs waiting for slaughter and just...
What have we done since the Emancipation Proclamation was signed? So you got a good job, big deal.
Yeah.
You don't control no power. So what was the sense in vote? You don't control no power. George Bush ain't coming in our neighborhood. See, our neighborhood is still going down, and we still moving in other folks' neighborhood. We moved out of our neighborhood after doing the Civil Rights Movement. We moved out of our neighborhood, started moving all out in the county where the Klan and everything, running them folks out of the state of Georgia, right? But look what it cost us. Here's a dude that bought a house 40 years ago, paid $60,000 for it. We moved in it and paid $150,000 for it. And they moved on our birth Open up their nice little place, their little areas and everything, and then here we come. We want to come out there with you. Everywhere they move, we follow them. So they're moving back into the city. We don't want to move into the city, brother. There's too much traffic, too much that rat race in the city. So we moved all out in the countryside. Right out here, brother, when I came to Atlanta, when I drove down Memorial Drive, coming out of Conyers, I didn't stop on Memorial Drive till I got to the expressway. You know why? Well, no black folks out in here. Now we in Klan territory. Now we think we somebody. Now we can go up in Buckhead and spend our money. Now we think we somebody. But I tell you one thing it taught us. Ask yourself a question. How many pieces of furniture you bought in the black neighborhood? How many grocery stores you went to in the black neighborhood? Huh? Correct. So what was the sense of you voting? You got it. You don't get control. How can a slave get control? How? You take it. You take it. You take it. Who are you going to get together to go against the government? Man, do you know that David Dukes organized an organization started in, it was just a few years ago, started in Louisiana, and he came to Georgia. Now, do you know that they're organized in 42 states? And you know who they're against? You. Now, you talk to all these brothers and all these sisters and everything you run into for the next 6 months and tell them, say, y'all, we got to come together and do something. We got to come together and take this and see what happens. They're going to end up putting you in jail. You know why? You rocking the boat. We want smooth things. You know why? We ain't got no power, man. Yahweh took all of our power. If he took it, how we going to get it back? We won't have no power until the Messiah comes. It's done told us that. We just read it. We're going to be without all things. We're going to be in our nation's land. And put something in your book right there. Turn to Deuteronomy 28. Deuteronomy chapter 28, and pick that up at verse 1.
Yes, sir.
See, now this is going to tell you why we haven't done anything and why we can't do anything. And we won't do anything until we appoint us one head and come up out of the wilderness and go in there and take the city of Zion. That way we'll be out of this country and we'll be on our own. In other words, Yahweh will be in control of us. Won't be out in the not in the wilderness, but Hebrew Israelites that's under the blood of Yeshua, that has that spirit, that's going to, no weapon is formed against you going to prosper when we go into the city. Deuteronomy 28, and pick that up at verse 1.
Yes, sir. And it shall come to pass, if you shall hearken diligently unto the voice of Yahweh, thy Elohim, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that Yahweh thy Elohim will set you on high above all nations of the earth. And all these blessings shall come on you and overtake you, if you shall hearken unto the voice of Yahweh your Elohim. Blessed shall you be in the city, and blessed shall you be in the field. Blessed shall be the fruit of your body, and the fruit of thy ground, and the fruit of thy cattle, the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep.
How many farms do we own? How much fruit that we can get fruit out of the ground? Everything. We become parasites.
And the farms that we own.
Right.
The governments won't give us loans on.
Of course. And it said the fruit of your cattle. We ain't got no cattle. And the increase of your kind. We haven't got any other kind of animals. And the flock of your sheep. Blessed shall be your basket and your store. We have to go to the store every day. Because we don't control nothing. We don't grow nothing. Go ahead and read, Steve.
Yes, sir. Verse 5, blessed shall be your basket and your store. Blessed shall you be when you come in, and blessed shall you be when you go out. Yahweh shall cause your enemies that rise up against you to be smitten before your face. They shall come out against you one way and flee before you 7 ways. Yahweh shall command a blessing upon you in your storehouses and in all that you set your hand unto. And he shall bless you in the land which Yahweh your Elohim gives you. Yahweh shall establish you a holy people unto himself, as he hath sworn unto you, if you shall keep the commandments of Yahweh your Elohim and walk in his ways. And all the people of the earth shall see that you are called by the name of Elohim, and they shall be afraid of you. And Yahweh shall make you plenteous in goods, in the fruit of thy body, and in the fruit of thy cattle, and in the fruit of thy ground, in the land which Yahweh swear unto your fathers to give you. Yahweh shall open unto you his good treasure, the heaven to give rain unto your land in his season, and to bless all the work of your hands. And you shall lend unto many nations, and you shall not borrow. And Yahweh shall make you the head and not the tail.
Okay, so you shall lend unto many nations, right? And you should not borrow, right? Who own our cars? Who own our houses? Who own our credit cards? Okay. Who own our jobs? Who owns our livelihood? Go ahead and read, brother.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and read, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 13, and Yahweh shall make you the head and not the tail, and you shall be above only, and you shall not be beneath, if that you hearken unto the commandments of Yahweh your Elohim, which I command you this day to observe and to do them. And you shall not go aside from any of the words which I command you this day, to the right hand or to the left, to go after other gods to serve them.
Now that's going to happen. All this is going to happen once the Messiah return and set up the first resurrection, because we didn't do it before, did we? Okay, go ahead, brother.
Verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if you will not hearken unto the voice of Yahweh your Elohim, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command you this day, that all these curses shall come upon you and overtake you. Cursed shall you be in the city, and cursed shall you be in the field.
Ain't it? We consider third-class citizens now, because the Hispanics are considered second-class now. We consider third-class citizens now, right? So we are cursed in the cities and in the field, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 17. Cursed shall be your basket and your store.
We don't produce anything. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 18. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep. Cursed shall you be when you come in, and cursed shall you be when you go out. Yahweh shall send upon you cursing, vexation, and rebuke in all that you set your hand unto for to do, until you be destroyed, and until you perish quickly, because of the wickedness of your doings, whereby you have forsaken me.
Verse 32, brother.
Yes, sir. You shall betroth the wife, and another man shall lie with her. You shall build an house, and you shall not dwell therein. You shall plant a vineyard, and shall not gather the grapes thereof. Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof. Thine ass shall be violently taken away from before thy face, and shall not be restored to you. Your sheep shall be given unto your enemies, and you shall have none to rescue them. Your sons and your daughters shall be given unto another people, and your eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in your hand.
Slavery days. Verse 36, brother.
Yes, sir. Yahweh shall bring you and your king, which you shall set over you, unto a nation which neither you nor your fathers have known, and there shall you serve other gods, wood and stone.
Well, our fathers did trade. Jerusalem is on the trade routes. Our fathers did trade with all the other nations, right? But we came over here. This land here wasn't known to us, right? Ain't that where you brought us? Okay, go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 37. And you shall become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations whither Yahweh shall lead you.
They don't call us Israelites no more. They call us a bunch of other choice names right now. We the one name ourselves. We didn't like being called Negroes, so we call ourselves Afro-Americans. Then we decided we didn't want to be that, so we call ourselves blacks. Then Jesse Jackson went over there in Africa and went to one of them Bush Kings over there, and he declared us African Americans. So no longer we are not blacks and we are not Afro-Americans. Now we're African Americans, right? Well, what are we now? We change our name, when we get ready to. In the Gentile, they gave us names in the beginning. They called us blacks and colors, right? They gave us names in the beginning. We didn't want that, so now we pick out other choice names for ourselves. Yeah. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 38. Thou shalt carry much seed out into the field, and shalt gather but little in, for the locust shall consume.
Right, the locust is the nations out there, right? And then seed, we carry much seed out. We do a whole lot of hard work, but we get little pay for that hard work, right? And then we have to get that right back to master, don't we? Okay. That's all we doing, sharecropping. And we the only folks on earth to sharecrop. The Indians don't sharecrop. I mean, they got big casinos and everything set up, man, getting rich and staying drunk all the time. And we know it. We know it. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 39. Thou shalt plant vineyards and dress them, but shall neither drink of the wine nor gather the grapes, for the worms shall eat them.
Right, the people going to eat them. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 40. Thou shalt have olive trees throughout all thy coast, but you shall not anoint yourself with the oil, for your olive shall cast his fruit.
Right, now we have to go to the store and buy olive oil, don't we? We don't grow nothing no more. Like I said, we have become parasites, and we are a liability, and the nations is in the process of getting rid of us, and we know it. Everything we get from them. People talking about, well, black folks add to the economy so many billions of dollars. You take it out first, then you put it back in. Go ahead and read, brother.
Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but you shall not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. And your trees and fruit of your land shall the locusts consume. The stranger that is within you shall get up above you very high, and you shall come down very low. He shall lend to you, and you shall not lend to him. He shall be the head, and you shall be the tail. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon you, and shall pursue you, and overtake you, till you be destroyed, because you hearken not unto the voice of Yahweh your Elohim, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded you. And they shall be upon you for a sign and for a wonder, and upon your seed forever. Because you serve not Yahweh your Elohim with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things, therefore shall you serve your enemies, which Yahweh shall send against you, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon your neck until he have destroyed you. Yahweh shall bring a nation against you from far from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flies, a nation whose tongue you shall not understand.
Ain't America similar eagle? Huh? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 50. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of old, nor show favor to the young.
Verse 62.
Yes, sir. And you shall be left few in numbers, whereas you were as the stars of heaven for multitude, because you would not obey the voice of Yahweh your Elohim. And it shall come to pass that as Yahweh rejoice over you to do you good and to multiply you, so Yahweh will rejoice over you to destroy you and to bring you to naught, and you shall be plucked from off the land whither you go to possess it. And Yahweh shall scatter you among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And there you shall serve other gods which neither you nor your fathers have known, even wood and stone.
Ain't it that way? Ain't it that way? Them crosses they have, don't that represent Christianity? Don't that represent a man that died, right? And the cross we got, it wasn't even the way the brother was crucified. The brother was crucified with his hands up like this, you see? But what do we get from Constantine and Pope St. Leo? We don't care. What we do is we go to these whorehouses and we get a disease. See, we get AIDS, and then we go along, well, I think this, and I feel it. I don't give a damn what you think. If it ain't written in here, then you might as well not think. It shows you who taught you how to think, don't you? Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 65. And among these nations shall you find no ease, neither shall the sole of your foot have rest. But Yahweh shall give you there a trembling heart, and failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind. And your life shall hang in doubt before you, and you shall fear day and night, and shall have none assurance of your life. In the morning you shall say, would Elohim it were even. And at even you shall say, would Elohim it were morning. For the fear of your heart wherewith you shall fear, and for the sight of your eyes which you shall see. And Yahweh shall bring you into Egypt again with ships. By the way whereof I spoke unto you, you shall see it no more again. And there you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
We were sold for bondmen and bondwomen. Now no man is buying us. All these curses came upon us, and folks wondering, well, what can we do? The only thing you can do is serve Yahweh, and you have to be careful in doing that. Let's go in the book of Isaiah, and I want to read a couple of things out of Isaiah, and then we're going to go back where we were in Isaiah. Go to Isaiah chapter 6, and pick this up, my brother, at verse 9.
Yes, sir. Verse 9, and he said, go and tell this people, hear you indeed, but understand not, and see you indeed, but perceive
we
not.
go to these whorehouses every Sunday. We hear, but we perceive not, right? We see what's going on, but we don't understand it. You know why? We got that disease.
Oh.
Go ahead, brother.
Verse 10, make the heart of this people fat.
Right, what I think, what I feel. Like Yahweh said, my thoughts are not your thoughts and my ways are not your way. You come to church and I'm going to give you a way to think. See, go ahead and read.
And make their ears heavy and shut their eyes, lest they see with their eyes and hear with their ears and understand with their heart and convert and be healed.
Mm-hmm.
Then said I, Adonai, how long?
How long you going to have this piece of people under these curses? Go ahead, brother.
And he answered, until the cities be wasted without inhabitant, and the houses without man, and the land be utterly desolate, and Yahweh have removed men far away, and there be a great forsaking in the midst of the land. But yet in it shall be a tent, and it shall return, and shall be eaten, as a teil tree, and as an oak whose substance is in them when they cast their leaves, so the holy seed shall be the substance thereof.
Okay, so this curse is on us until we get back into our land, see? And it ain't nothing we can do about it. We can sit around and think this and think that, but understand one thing. Understand who was your teacher in the school that you went to, and who did your teacher serve?
Elder. Elder.
Yeah.
I'd just like to read something to the young man. You have to understand all this thing has been predestinated. It's already set up. I want to read this out of about these politicians out of Daniel chapter 2 and verse 19 through 21. It says, then was the secret revealed unto Daniel in a night vision. Then Daniel blessed the Elohim of heaven. Daniel answered and said, blessed be the name of Yahweh forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. And he changes the times and the seasons. He removes kings and sets up kings. He gave wisdom unto the wise and knowledge to them that know understanding.
And he set up over the people the basest thoughts of men.
That's right.
And let's go back in Isaiah and pick up what's going to take place during the first resurrection.
The other question that this brother, I think you were asking is about the unity and how do you go about dealing with people. When they asked the Messiah that when he was visiting one house, he said, my brothers and my sisters. And he said, who is my brother? Who is my sister? All right? Who is my mother? Those that are doing the will of the Father. So it's all right to show unity, and it's all right to have brotherhood and show sisterhood. But amongst those people who are thinking and doing the will of the Almighty according to the word here that's presented in this particular book, it doesn't mean that you can't work. It doesn't mean that you can't, but you have to take care of yourself. But it means also that you have a solemn obligation to do the best of your ability as far as the laws and the books is concerned, and to walk humbly before your God, and to show the love that the Almighty has shown towards his Son, who he's throwing to you, that you might show towards one another. That's the unity that you're trying to perceive, and that's the unity that's continually destroyed amongst us as a people, because they are decided that they want to reach out to towards other things that's happening in the world, and the two are incompatible.
Well, the unity that we're going to show is here in the congregation. That's the only unity that we're going to show, because the Spirit guides our works, our deeds, and our actions, and so forth. So that's the unity that we're going to show. But it already told you about that. It said the children of Israel, once we gather into the wilderness, then we're going to appoint one head. Then there will be unity. Okay.
Law. Without a culture that is truly ours, we will never be able to unify in this country. We all got our own song and dance here.
Correct. See, even today, there's disunity among people. People that's not in the house, and it divides houses. This is why we have folks that, we had some folks kept Passover in the 12th month, and gonna tell me this the year you add the 13th month. Well, if you added another month, then it seems to me you'd have 13 months. That means the Abib wouldn't have been your first month. What we call May would have been your first month, you see. And what it is people lean into their own understanding about things, but like Scripture says, how can they learn except they have a teacher? And how can they teach except they be sent? And man say, well, I don't need a man to teach me nothing. The Spirit teach me. Well, there's only one Spirit. You done left the Spirit, so what Spirit you dealing with? Go ahead and read. Well, let's go back to Isaiah and pick this up.
Verse 1.
Go to these seminaries and be taught best.
I know what you do is, brother. Folks get on telephone calling. What you doing about this? Well, I'm doing this here. Well, I'm doing that there. So, well, I think I changed mine to go along with yours. Right. Go ahead and let's go back. Read. Well, let's go back to Isaiah and pick this up.
Verse 1.
I know what your deal is, brother. Folks get on the telephone calling. What you doing about this? Well, I'm doing this here. Well, I'm doing that there. So, well, I think I changed mine to go along with yours. Right. Go ahead and let's go back and prophet Isaiah and pick that up.
60, verse 1.
Chapter 60 and verse 1.
Arise, shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of Yahweh is risen upon
thee. The Spirit of Yahweh is risen upon you, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 2. For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people.
We just read about that in Isaiah. Go ahead, brother.
But Yahweh shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon
Praise
thee.
Him.
And the year of Gentiles shall come to thy light, and kings to the brightness of thy rising. Lift up thine eyes round about, and see. All they gather themselves together, they come to thee. Thy sons shall come from far, and thy daughters shall be nursed at thy side. Then thou shalt see and flow together, and thine heart shall fear and be enlarged, because the abundance of the sea shall be converted unto you. The wealth of the Euro Gentiles shall come unto you. The multitude of camels shall cover you. The dromedaries of Midian and Ephah, all they from Sheba shall come. They shall bring gold and incense, and they shall show forth the praises of Yahweh. All the flocks of Kedar shall be gathered together unto you. The rams of Nebaioth shall minister unto you. They shall come up with acceptance on mine altar, and I will glorify the house of my glory. Who are these that fly as a cloud, and as the doves to their windows? Surely the owl shall wait for me, and the ships of Tarshish first, to bring your sons from far, their silver and their gold with them, unto the name of Yahweh your Elohim, and to the Holy One of Israel, because he hath glorified you. And the sons of strangers shall build up your walls, and their kings shall minister unto you. For in my wrath I smote you, but in my favor have I had mercy on you. Therefore your gates shall be open continually. They shall not be shut day nor night, that men may bring unto you the wealth of the Euro Gentiles, and that their kings may be brought. For the nation and kingdom that will not serve you shall perish. Yea, those nations shall be utterly wasted.
We read that in Zechariah, didn't we? First year they don't get no rain. The next year they're going to get the plague if you don't serve my people Israel. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 13. The glory of Lebanon shall come unto thee, the fir tree, the pine tree, and the box together, to beautify the place of my sanctuary, and I will make the place of my feet glorious.
And what did Isaiah say? But in the last days shall come to pass that the mountain of the house of Yahweh shall be established in the top of the mountain, and all the nations shall flow unto it, right? And many nations shall come and say, Isaiah 14, Come and let us go into the house of Jacob, to the house of the God of Jacob, and he would teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his path, because out of the Zion shall go forth the law and the word of Yahweh from Jerusalem. And they shall beat their swords and the plowshares and their spears and the pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. How can the nation have peace and we don't have none? Go on and read, brother.
Verse 14. The sons also of them that afflicted you shall come bending unto you, and all they that despise you shall bow themselves at the soles of your feet, and they shall call you the city of Yahweh, the Zion of the Holy One of Israel. Whereas you have been forsaken and hated, so that no man went through you, I will make you an eternal excellency, a joy of many generations. You shall also suck the milk of the Euro-Gentiles, and shall suck the breast of kings, and you shall know that I, Yahweh, am your Savior and your Redeemer, the mighty one of Jacob.
In other words, all of your nourishment is going to come from the nations, right? He that leadeth in the captivity shall go into captivity. He that kills with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patient faith of the saints. This is what we're waiting for. Y'all already cut off now 5/6 of all the nations on the earth. That's what we're waiting for. Can you imagine that, man? Our land isn't just the land of Israel. Our land is the whole Fertile Crescent. Man, a brother is going to have land for days. As far as you can see and walk will be your land. And he said, as you grow and multiply, I'm going to take other people's land and give it to you. Why? Because the earth is your inheritance, Israel. Go ahead and read.
Verse 17. For brass I will bring gold, and for iron I will bring silver, and for wood brass, and for stones iron. I will also make thy officers peace, and thine exactors righteousness. Violence shall no more be heard in thy land, wasting or destruction within thy borders. But thou shalt call thy walls salvation, and thy gates praise. The sun shall be no more thy light by day, neither for brightness shall the moon give light unto thee. But Yahweh shall be unto thee an everlasting light, and thy Elohim thy glory.
Right, you'll have eternal life. You ain't going to need none of these natural things. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 20. Thy sun shall no more go down, neither shall thy moon withdraw itself, for Yahweh shall be thine everlasting light, and the days of thy mourning shall be ended. Thy people also shall be all righteous. They shall inherit the land forever, the branch of my planting, the work of my hands, that I may be glorified. A little one shall become 1,000, and a small one a strong nation. I, Yahweh, will hasten it in his time.
To let you know how much power the children of Israel is going to have. See, the nations think they got power. It's just been lent to them for a while. Go ahead and read, brother.
Isaiah chapter 61, verse 1. The spirit of the Adonai Elohim is upon me, because Yahweh have anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. Yahweh have sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound, to proclaim the acceptable year of Yahweh.
Okay, right there, if you go into St. Luke 4 and pick it up at verse 16, after the Messiah was tempted, this is exactly what he said. And then he closed up the book and said, this day is this scripture fulfilled in your ears. Now let's read the rest of the story when he returns. Go ahead, brother.
To proclaim the acceptable year of Yahweh, and the day of vengeance of our Elohim, to comfort all that mourn, verse 3, to appoint unto them that mourn in Zion, to give unto them beautiful ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they might be called the trees of righteousness, the planting of Yahweh, that he might be glorified. And they shall build the oasis, they shall raise up the former desolations, and they shall repair the waste cities, the desolations of many generations. And strangers shall stand and feed your flocks, and the sons of the alien shall be your plowmen and your vine dressers. But you shall be named the priest of Yahweh. Men shall call you the ministers of our Elohim. You shall eat the wealth of the Euro-Gentiles, and in their glory shall you boast yourselves. For your shame you shall have double, and for confusion they shall rejoice in their portion. Therefore in their land they shall possess the double, everlasting joy shall be unto them. For I, Yahweh, love judgment. I hate robbery for burnt offering, and I will direct their work in truth, and I will make an everlasting covenant with them. And their seed shall be known among the Euro Gentiles, and their offspring among the people. All that see them shall acknowledge them, that they are the seed which Yahweh hath
He's
blessed.
talking about one nation of people, right? Go ahead, bro.
Verse 10, I will greatly rejoice in Yahweh. My soul shall be joyful in my Elohim. For he hath clothed me with the garments of salvation. He hath covered me with the robe of righteousness. As a bridegroom decks himself with ornaments, and as a bride adorns herself with her jewels. For as the earth brings forth her bud, and as the garden causes the things that are sown in it to spring forth, so the Adonai will cause righteousness and praise to spring forth before all the nations. For Yehuda's sake will I not hold my peace, and for Jerusalem's sake will I not rest, until the righteousness thereof go forth as brightness, and the salvation thereof as a lamp that burneth. And the Euro Gentiles shall see your righteousness, and all kings your glory. And you shall be called by a new name, which the mouth of Yahweh shall name. You shall also be a crown of glory in the hand of Yahweh, and a royal diadem in the hand of your Elohim. You shall no more be termed forsaken, neither shall your land any more be termed desolate. But you shall be called Hephzibah, and your land Beulah, for Yahweh delights in you, and your land shall be married. For as a young man marries a virgin, so shall your son marry you. And as the bridegroom rejoices over the bride, so shall your Elohim rejoice over you. I have set watchmen upon your walls, O Jerusalem, which shall never hold their peace day nor night. You that make mention of Yahweh, keep not silence, and give him no rest, till he establish and till he make Jerusalem a praise in the earth. Yahweh hath sworn by his right hand and by the arm of his strength. Surely I will no more give your corn to be meat for your enemies, and the sons of the stranger shall not drink your wine, for the which you have labored. But they that have gathered it shall eat it and praise Yahweh, and they that have brought it together shall drink it in the courts of my holiness.
You don't drink wine in the courts of his holiness, right? But what Christians say, oh, you can't drink no wine. Wine is a mocker. The Messiah drank wine. They call him a wine bibber and a gluttonous man. We have to celebrate Passover with wine. But the church say, oh, no, that was grape juice. It said wine. Right. He didn't tell Timothy to drink no grape juice. He told him drink some wine for them oftentimes infirmities you have in your stomach. And then we drink wine to settle this food and get rid of a whole lot of junk we got. And folks say, man, there are a bunch of wine heads over there. Right. Go on and read, man.
Yes, sir. Verse 10. Go through the gates, prepare you the way of the people, cast up the highway, gather out the stones, lift up a standard for the people. Behold, Yahweh hath proclaimed unto the end of the world. Say you to the daughter of Yehuda, behold, our salvation cometh. Behold, his reward is with him, and his work before him. And they shall call them the holy people, the redeemed of Yahweh. And you shall be called sought out, a city not forsaken.
65 and 8.
Thus says Yahweh, as the new wine is found in the cluster, and one says, destroy it not, for a blessing is in it, so will I do for my servants' sakes, that I may not destroy them all. And I will bring forth the seed out of Jacob, and out of Judah, an inheritor of my mountains, and mine elect shall inherit it, and my servants shall dwell there. And Sharon shall be a fold of flocks, and the valley of Achor a place for the herds to lie down in, for my people that have sought me. But you are they that forsake Yahweh, that forget my holy mountain, that prepare a table for that troop, and that furnish the drink offering unto that number.
Right. Easter, all them sun symbols. Easter, Christmas, Cupid's Day, what that other thing, New Year's Day, All Hallows Eve, what they call Halloween, all of this garbage we got from the nations, right? Go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 12. Therefore will I number you to the sword.
Therefore I will number you to the sword, because you keep these things, right? And you shall bow down under the slaughter. Because when I called, you did not answer. When I spoke, you did not hear. But you did evil before mine eyes, and choose that wherein I delighted not. See? He blessed the Sabbath day, which we know starts at Friday night at sundown, to Saturday night at sundown. White folks say, we don't want to do that. See? And crackers say, we don't want to do this. What we're going to do is this. We're going to go to church on the first day of the week, because that's the day of the sun. And Lucifer is the angel of the sun. He's the light bearer. And Paul said, and no marvel, because Lucifer himself has been transformed into an angel of light and has his ministers teaching the Messiah in contention. Anybody tell you don't have to keep Yahweh's law is teaching in contention. Law governs everything, man. Law governs the whole universe. Law governs the time that the animals calve and so forth and so on, right? Everything but man. Man said, oh no, we don't have to do that. Why do you think the earth is in the shape it's in? Because man is out of kilter with nature.
Well, you know, Elder, one thing about it, during that tsunamis, those animals, they heeded Yahweh's word.
And went up in the mountain.
Right, they did what Yahweh told them to do.
Right, then none of them died.
Right.
Only the people died.
Right. If
Go
you ever
ahead.
spoke to the people right out, they said that, I don't believe that.
I don't believe
Stay
that,
right out
man.
on this beach and get my suntan.
Just like we do, man. I've been telling folks this for years. And Jake get big-headed, man. Jake, it said ask your elders and they'll tell you.
Right.
Man, according to the law, you got to be 50 years old to be the elder. Right. You see? And brothers walk around talking about calling folks elder so-and-so just because he's a couple of years older than the other one. Go ahead and read. When Moses told him, when Yahweh told him, say, gather all the elders together, he went and gathered the people that was over 50 years old. Right? He took the spirit off Moses and didn't put it on all the people. He put it on them elders, didn't he? Okay. Go ahead and read, brother.
It says, chapter 65, verse 13. Therefore, thus says the Adonai Elohim, behold, my servant shall eat, but you shall be hungry. Behold, my servant shall drink, but you shall be thirsty. Behold, my servant shall rejoice, but you shall be ashamed.
Ask yourself, what do you do to serve Yahweh? Just because you pray, you call that serving Yahweh? Just because you gave somebody something to eat, you call that serving Yahweh? The Christians do the same thing. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 14. Behold, my servant shall sing for joy of heart, but you shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of spirit. And you shall leave your name for a curse unto my chosen. For the Adonai Elohim shall slay you, and call his servants by another name, that he who blesses himself in the earth shall bless himself in the Elohim of truth, and he that swears in the earth shall swear by the Elohim of truth, because the former troubles are forgotten, and because they are hid from mine eyes. For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered, nor come into mind. But be you glad and rejoice forever in that which I create. For behold, I create Jerusalem a rejoicing, and her people a joy.
Now he said in verse 17, for behold, I create a new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered, nor come into mind. Be you glad and rejoice forever in that which I create. For behold, I create Jerusalem a rejoicing, and her people a joy, right? When we get in Revelation and read about the new city of Jerusalem, it only had 12 gates. And at the gates, 12 angels. And angels written on, which are names written on, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel, right? Well, where's everybody else's gate? If you don't go in there with me, you don't go. Go on to read, brother.
Verse 19. And I will rejoice in Jerusalem, and joy in my people, and the voice of weeping shall be no more heard in her, nor the voice of crying. There shall be no more thence an infant of days, nor an old man that have not filled his days. For the child shall die 100 years old, but the sinner being 100 years old shall be accursed.
Right. A man died at a year, and once the Messiah set up his kingdom, if a man dies at 100 years, he'd be considered a babe. And the reason why he's dying is because he couldn't get his act together. Go ahead and read.
Verse 21. And they shall build houses and inhabit them, and they shall plant vineyards and eat the fruit of them. They shall not build and another inhabit. They shall not plant and another eat. For as the days of a tree are the days of my people, and mine elect shall long enjoy the work of their hands. They shall not labor in vain, nor bring forth for trouble, for they are the seed of the blessed of Yahweh, and their offspring with them.
He keep mentioning that word seed, single seed. So we know he's talking about the holy seed of when Abraham prayed against, when Abraham was praying, he said, oh, that Ishmael may live before you. I done heard you about that boy. So he going to get 11 princes. But in Isaac shall the seed be called, the holy seed. And nothing can change us from being the holy seed. Yahweh, all of this thing was already pre-planned. We had to do this thing in order for Yahweh to get him some great glory like he did when we came out of Egypt. You see, then all the world will know who he is. They took all the stones off. The Messiah told the apostles, don't y'all see all these things? There's not going to be one stone left upon another that's not going to be thrown down, right? Titus said we tore down the temple and took the stones and built the fort of Antonio out of it. Folks telling me, oh, they up to the wall, the western wall of the temple. Oh, really? I thought that was the fort that Titus did. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 2. For all those things have mine hand made, and all those things have been, says Yahweh. But to this man will I look, even to him that is poor and of a contrite spirit, and trembles at my word. He that killeth an ox is as if he slew a man. He that sacrifices a lamb as if he cut off a dog.
Wait a minute now. I heard some stories about folks sacrificing the lamb not only last year, but this year too at Passover, at their Passover.
Verse, he that offers an oblation as if he offers swine's blood. He that burns incense as if he blessed an idol. Yea, they have chosen their own ways, and their soul delights in their abominations.
They love doing these things. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 4. I also will choose their delusions and will bring their fears upon them.
I'm going to choose, see that they like that, I'm going to choose their delusion from them. I'm going to cast them out of my sight. See, I keep telling y'all play them games, Yahweh will deceive you. And you walk around and think you're serving him, and you got Satan sitting up on your shoulder.
Joshua,
don't even know it.
Joshua warned our people, didn't he?
Of course he did.
And said, y'all can't serve Yahweh.
Right. Go ahead and read, brother.
Because when I called, none did answer. When I spake, they did not hear, but did evil before mine eyes, and chose that in which I delighted not. Hear the word of Yahweh, you that tremble at his word. Your brethren that hated you, that cast you out for my name's sake, said, let Yahweh be glorified. But he shall appear to your joy, and they shall be ashamed.
You're talking about them folks over there calling themselves the Jews now. Go ahead and read.
Verse 6. A voice of noise from the city, a voice from the temple, a voice of Yahweh that renders recompense to his enemies. Before she travailed, she brought forth.
Before the great tribulation came upon us, Judah brought forth, right? Before her pain came, she was delivered of a man-child. And that man-child is going to rule all nations. Go ahead. Y'all folks, I keep asking folks, what nationality was the Messiah? Oh, he was a light. I say he was a man. He ate and he drank and he talked to folks. If he was a light, when they was looking for him in the temple, all they had to do say, there he is over there, see that light? But he walked right on through them because they didn't know who he was.
You know, the biggest thing I found out from talking to people, our people just, like you said, just the God in them. They're just loving people. They think everybody's inclusive in this word when it comes to God. That's the biggest problem.
I know it.
You sit down and talk to them about who we are, and the first thing they ask, what's going to happen to the Europeans?
Right, it don't make no difference. Yes, it does make a difference because all the covenants, promise, the service, the giving of law, all the things of Yahweh was given to us, so it does make a difference. You become partakers, you become part of us, but we have become part of them. Go ahead and finish up.
Yes, sir. Verse 8. Verse 7, before she travailed, she brought forth. Before her pain came, she was delivered of a man-child. Verse 8, who have heard such a thing? Who have seen such things? Shall the earth be made to bring forth in one day? Or shall a nation be born at once? For as soon as Judah travailed, she brought forth her children.
Right, in one day. In one day, that's the day of the Lord, right? We're going to bring forth fruit.
Good. Well, that goes back to before the Great Tribulation period. That goes back to yeah. Okay. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 9. Shall I bring to the birth and not cause to bring forth, says Yahweh? Shall I cause to bring forth and shut the womb, says thy Elohim? Rejoice you with Jerusalem, and be glad with her, all you that love her. Rejoice for joy with her, all you that mourn for her, that you may suck and be satisfied with the breast of her consolations, that you may milk out and be delighted with the abundance of her glory. For thus says Yahweh, behold, I will extend peace to her like a river, and the glory of the Euro Gentiles like a flowing stream. Then shall you suck, you shall be borne upon her sides and be dandled upon her knees.
Right, and they're going to have to bring that 10% of that GNP up to Jerusalem 3 times a year as all the males still. Go ahead and read.
Verse 13. As one whom his mother comforts, so will I comfort you, and you shall be comforted in Jerusalem.
Not in heaven, in Jerusalem. Go ahead and read, go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 14. And when you see this, your heart shall rejoice, and your bones shall flourish like an herb. And the hand of Yahweh shall be known toward his servants, and his indignation toward his enemies. For behold, Yahweh will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword will Yahweh plead with all flesh, and the slain of Yahweh shall be many.
Okay, then we read that their flesh is going to consume away while they stand up on their feet, and their eyes are going to consume away in their holes with that fire he's going to put on them, right? When you get into Psalms chapter 50, I think it is, it said burning coals was going to go forth from him, right, in front of him, right? And go back and read Ezekiel and see what was in that chariot he was riding. Coals of fire, wasn't it? Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 17. They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh and the abomination and the mouse, shall be consumed together, says Yahweh.
Well, wait a minute. Gentiles told me so. Well, you know, we had a recleansation of food. Paul said all creatures are good. He didn't say you had to eat it. All creatures are good. All creatures serve a purpose. But he gave us a dietary law. And he says here, they that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the garden behind one tree in the midst, eating that swine's flesh, and the abomination and the mouse shall be consumed together, saith Yahweh. We eat everything that come out the sea that don't have scales and fins, and according to our law, the only thing we can eat out of the water must have scales and fins. But they got red lobster set up. Go down there to that Chinese restaurant right down there. You think, John told y'all pay attention. See, they'll take them shrimp and put it in that grease and cook it, and you come in and order you some chicken or some fries, they go right in the same grease. You don't eat the meat, but you eat the substance of it. That's like cooking, say, well, I don't eat pork, but I cook with lard. Go on and read, brother. Right, so you can eat from all the trees, but this one here. Correct. After the blood. Right. Okay, go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 18. For I know their works and their thoughts. It shall come that I will gather all nations and tongues, and they shall come and see my glory. And I will set a sign among them, and I will send those that escape of them unto the nations, to Tarshish, Pud, and Lud, that draw the boat to Tubal and Javan, to the isles afar off, that have not heard my fame, neither have seen my glory, and they shall declare my glory among the Euro Gentiles.
So he said he's going to send us to Spain and to Africa and in Europe, right? That those that haven't heard of his, seen his glory, and we're going to declare his glory among the Gentiles, right? Go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 20. And they shall bring all your brethren for an offering unto Yahweh out of all nations, upon horses and in chariots and in litters, and upon mules and upon swift beasts, to my holy mountain Jerusalem, says Yahweh, as the children of Israel bring an offering in a clean vessel into the house of Yahweh.
Right, hear your people. Take your people back. We already read they're going to first he sent fishers. Then after that he was going to send for hunters. And the hunters was going to be hunting for our people in the dens and the rocks of the mountains. Because we got to get out of these cities because Lucifer is going to come directly to make war with us. He said, going to hunt out of the dens and the rocks of the mountain and bring us back up on mules, leaders, horses. Who is this that flies the dove to the windows, bringing my sons and daughters? In the airplane, all kind of way they can get us back up to Jerusalem. Take your people so we can have some peace and prosperity in our land. We sorry. All right. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 21. And I will also take of them for priests and for Levites, says Yahweh.
Amen.
For as the new heavens and the new earth, which I will make shall remain before me, says Yahweh, so shall your seed and your name remain.
So will your seed and your name remain, because we have the name of the true and living God, the creator of all things. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 23. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Shabbat to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, says Yahweh.
From one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, right? Shall all flesh come. Well, the nation don't even keep the new moon. See, they got their calendar set up by the sun, because Lucifer is the angel of the sun. This is why all their major holidays are sun symbols. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 24. And they shall go forth and look upon the carcasses of the men that have transgressed against me, for their worm shall not die, neither shall their fire be quenched, and they shall be an abhorrence unto all flesh.
Okay, my brother, I got one more piece of scripture, and then I'll be through with y'all, through with this for today. Let's go into Romans chapter 11, and I want you to pick this up at verse 24. Romans 11 and verse 24.
24?
Mm-hmm.
Verse 24. For if you were cut out of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, and were grafted contrary to nature into a good olive tree, how much more shall these, which be the natural branches, be grafted into their own olive tree?
Mm-hmm.
For I would not, brethren, that you should be ignorant of this mystery, lest you should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part has happened to Israel until the fullness of the Euro Gentiles be come in.
Blindness in part, not in full. Blindness in part. You always had a light in the house of Israel. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 26. And so all Israel shall be saved. As it is written, there shall come out of Judah the deliverer, and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob. But this is my covenant unto them, when I shall take away their sins. As concerning the gospel, they are enemies for your sakes. But as touching the election, they are beloved for the Father's sake. For the gifts and calling of Elohim are without repentance.
Amen and amen. So it's been said, so let it be written. Even so, come Lord Yeshua and save Jacob from all of his troubles. That's about all I'm going to do today. May Yahweh have mercy upon us all.